Welcome everyone to this regular open council meeting of today, July 21st, 2026. Want to remind everybody that there's a live audio video feed that is being broadcast and recorded via Zoom and subsequently available on the Town of Golden's YouTube page. We have members of council around the table, senior staff, but we also have Councilor Hambrook and Councilor Dale attending remotely. So with that, I'll start with the land acknowledgement. For thousands of years, the abundance that the earth's lands and waters provide us to live, work, and play is due to the ecological wisdom, stewardship, and that reciprocal relationship that the world's first peoples have lived and live today. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the land in which we gather is a shared ancestral territory of the Ktunaxa and Secwepemc people. Golden is also home to the Métis Nation Columbia River Society and other diverse Indigenous heritage. We're grateful to have the opportunity to live and work in this territory. With that, Ms. Seville, under late items, item 2, I understand there's a request for a change of order.
That is correct. There are no late items, but staff would like to propose a change to the order of business to move item 10A-B, staff report from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding Economic Opportunity Fund requests to 12 new business, as it's related to another item on the agenda under new business.
Thank you for that. We have a resolution up on the board there. I'm looking for a move that resolution. Councilor Routley moving, Councilor Wheel seconding it. Any discussion, council? Seeing, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. So then the adoption of the meeting agenda as amended. Look for a mover. Councilor Manuel, seconded by Councilor Dale. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we have the item number 4, which is the adoption of the minutes of the regular open council meeting that was held on June 16th. Looking for a move of those minutes. Councilor Routley, looking for a seconder. Councilor Manuel. Council. Any errors or omissions that have not previously been noted? Seeing, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. It's like the spelling sometimes doesn't work, sometimes the mouth doesn't work. We also have the minutes of the special open council meeting that was held June 25th. Looking for a mover of those minutes. Councilor Cooper, seconded by Councilor Routley. Again, council, any errors or omissions in those minutes? After deep scrutiny, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. And council, is there any business arising from those minutes that we are not dealing with in the agenda today? Seeing, hearing none, we move on the agenda. There's no delegations or presentations. We move on to correspondence. We have looking for a motion that the items of external correspondence be received. Councilor Routley, Councilor Cooper, 2 in a row. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. So we have four action. Under external correspondence, we have 4 items that are looking for some action from council, and we have some supplemental informational items. Under the action items, we have Oak Tree of Love. It's a request for originally a request for a proclamation for a pregnancy and infant loss awareness month. Staff let them know that we do not do proclamations, and they asked if the letter could be included in a council agenda. So we've done that. It includes other action items for council to consider. There's a list of, I think, 4 of them there. The second action item is from Mr. LaMarche. It's a request for council to make a resolution at UBCM similar to a resolution made by SUC for 2026, and that's with regards to protections for manufactured homeowners. The other item for request is for action is the town of Lake Cowichan requests for support for the elect respect pledge and encouraging elected officials to support the campaign and sign the online pledge. And the final one is a letter from Dave Turner Criar with regards to Selkirk Hill pedestrian safety. So there's a number of items there. Council, is there any that council would like to bring forward and follow up on any of those action items? Councilor Guile?
I'd like to bring forward the Elect Respect campaign. And I'd like to make a motion that that the town of Golden calls on elected officials, organizations, and community members, and I'll send this to you, to support the Elect Respect campaign and sign the online pledge.
If they haven't already.
Yeah, but I wanted to get this out and also sent back to them that we've done it.
Okay,
I think that's important. And to other local governments, such organizations such as AKBLG and UBCM and FCM.
so it's to copy,
Copy their resolution, but put our,
endorse, or support for it.
yes,
And copy our response to all of the
correct.
elected governments,
Mhm.
regional districts, associations, both regionally and nationally, I guess. 'Cause-
Well, just Kootenai, AKBLG, UBCM, and Federation of
Okay,
Canadian
so you don't want-
Municipalities. Not to every,
association.
not to every association, just the ones, those direct ones, and just send them back a response that we have done this.
Okay, thank you for that. So do we have the resolution?
Counselor Guio was going to send it.
Yeah.
Have you forwarded that?
I will. Actually,
So that may be the simplest, quickest.
right there.
So everybody understands the intent. I'm looking for a seconder of that. Counselor Routley is seconding that motion. And we'll get the actual verbiage on there, but it's to support and actually advocate for the elect respect approach to doing local government.
Correct. It's a good time to do it before the election.
Absolutely. I don't know, council, do you need it on the board? Not to put any pressure on Ms. Seville.
I know, I feel bad. Sorry, I thought I should have had it emailed.
Just wanted to make sure that everybody's comfortable with whatever the language that's up on the board. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. And council, are there any other items that you'd like to bring forward for action? Councilor Rowley?
Thank you, Mayor. With respect to Mr. Lamash's letter, unfortunately, the UPCM deadline for resolutions was June 15th. And so certainly council is able to vote its conscience at the convention if this resolution has passed the barriers that UBCM's resolutions committee have kind of set up around filtering their process, but certainly look forward to the debate on that floor in Vancouver.
Thank you for that. And I'm gonna suggest that we just respond to Mr. Lamarche, just letting him know that the request came too late. And as per the support that individuals can provide for the resolution at the UBCM floor. So I think there's value in responding to the letter. I'll take that as part of the, is that fair?
That yeah, that's captured in the essence of what I said. Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay. Mover, do we have a seconder on that one? Councilman O'Neill seconding that?
I guess for staff's benefit, for clarity, it'd be the mayor we'll
Send a letter.
send a letter replying to
That was my takeaway from
Mr.
that.
LaMarche, letting him know of
Actually, that
the
was my
UVCM deadline. But that the nonetheless, the resolution will be on the floor at UVCM.
My apologies, that was my takeaway, but also my push. So
Comment, your worship.
are you seconding that, Councillor Hambrick? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yes, and I have a comment as well,
Okay.
if I may.
So, we got it moved, seconded, and speaking to the motion, Councillor Hambrick.
Yeah. I think several years ago, we implemented a mobile home policy. Am I correct in that assumption?
I'd look to staff. I believe there is something on the books, Councillor, or Mr. Armstrong.
Yes, it was drafted in my first stint here in Golden in 2008, which is a short stint. And it's due, I think, with the policy review to be updated in 2028.
Okay, so might be worthwhile to review that and send it as well to Mr. LaMarche.
Yeah, Mr. LaMarche is aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hambrick. Any other comments on the motion? Councillor Manuel?
Sorry, not on the motion, my apologies.
Okay. If there's no other comments, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Councillor Manuel, you have another item you'd like to bring forward for action?
Yes, I want to speak to Mr. Carrara's letter. I saw earlier today, that the town staff is already addressing the issue in terms of safety for pedestrians, and that may change everything. And I think I think they're doing things which should be very effective, and relatively straightforward. And I'm very appreciative that they've jumped on this, because I can understand people concerned about the safety of children or other people on that sidewalk. But it's, yeah, I think it's could be very effective, and I appreciate that. Now, where that leaves Mr. Carrera's letter, I'm not sure.
Okay, so you're not suggesting any action, and maybe I'm looking for some supplemental information, details as far as Mr. Cochran, are you able to speak to the actions that's happened on Selkirk Hill?
Yeah, thanks, your worship. What's happening on Selkirk Hill currently is just asphalt crack repairs. Following that, we were intending to extend some of the existing concrete barriers downhill a little bit. We can only go maximum about 12 meters downhill from the existing set that's there before the road cross section becomes too narrow for two-way passage of vehicles. That is the trouble with the Selkirk Hill geometry, is that it's the corners are particularly narrow, so they don't really afford the opportunity to place concrete barriers, for example, between the sidewalk and the traveling motorists up and down the hill. That is one of the problems. Council recall in 2022, we had a traffic safety study completed for the hill that included several recommendations with cost estimates for potential improvements. The one that currently is in the draft DCC bylaw program is for upgrading the roadway cross section to a collector standard, widening it and moving the existing concrete sidewalk, replacing the existing concrete sidewalk with a multi-use pathway on the west side of the road as opposed to the east side of the road. With the rationale being that the uphill vehicles are less likely to lose control than would be the case with downhill vehicles. That, I believe, is in the DCC program, budgeted at 3.2 million currently.
Thank you for that. And that report that you talked about, would that be the engineering traffic safety review that we did on Selkirk Hill? That was done on Selkirk Hill?
That's correct.
Thank you. Councilor Manuel, follow up?
Yes, I know we had two sections of, I think it was two sections of those barriers and they've been in there a long time. I'm assuming, I think it makes sense, a reasonable assumption that they were put when the road was built and as the most risky places or dangerous. And I'm wondering if there are ways which we can, how to say, inform people and to the danger kind of thing. The drivers, maybe things more, not signs so much on the top, but maybe along the way, or maybe other devices, because I don't think anyone wants to go do what this. We saw the picture recently where a car really tried to jump one of the barriers and it didn't work very well. No one wants that, but it's, if we can make it more obvious, I think that would be useful. And I think there are possibilities. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Counselor Hambrick?
Yeah, just a thought about putting, rather than a concrete barrier, would it be possible to implant metal into the existing side edge of the sidewalk with a metal barrier guard attached to what's anchored in the concrete?
Not that we want to get into operational.
No, I know. Just a suggestion, rather than putting barriers that narrow the road, you squeeze the sidewalk a little bit narrower with a guard to guard the pedestrians. Just a suggestion.
Thank you for that. Mr. Cochran, some comments?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. We can certainly look at that during coming budget deliberations. I don't have any costs at my fingertips. I don't know what the cost would be or what would be involved, but we can certainly look at it.
Thank you for that. Also with regards to the response, I would strongly, I suggest that either a response letter from myself or from staff relative to the issues. And as they are technical and operational issues, I'll look to Mr. Cochran to respond. If that's okay by yourself?
Yes, Your Worship.
Thank
We
you
can
very much.
respond to the
Very much appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, Council, anything else from the action items? Councilor Routley?
Thank you. Just kind of continuing down the vein with Selkirk. Recognizing, yeah, the road profiles pretty tricky for the entire length. But yeah, if there's even, can only stop so much of a lifted truck. But if there are, if Moti had or Mott had any spare spiking along the overpass where they've got the much larger, like a taller barrier, and if any of those options might be available, I guess just for consideration for a future budget discussion, so that we can kind of ensure that it's not a little hop, skip, and a jump for the big trucks, but still safe for motorists if they were to lose control. I appreciate just any review of just that tiny little improvement to make sure that that pedestrians going up Selkirk are safe in those pretty rare circumstances, but certainly consequential.
And recognize that as you go higher, you go wider at the base.
Yeah, and that's the only concern I have in mind. Yeah.
Absolutely, safety is paramount, and from a municipal perspective, both council and staff will be doing everything they can to ensure safety of the public. Anything else from the action items? If not, we also have some items for information. We have communication from ResourceWorks with an invite to attend Get It Done BC event at UBCM. We have communication from the Ministry of Environment and Parks with making us aware of the updated air zone reports that are available online. We have a communication from Oak Bay it's an advocacy letter for continued funding for the LGCAP, which is Local Government Climate Action Program, I believe. And one from City of Merritt, information about the new animal bylaw and the release of pigeons. And the final one was from the Regional District Central Okanagan, an advocacy letter for continued funding for the Local Government Climate Action Program. So that's all the correspondence, council. with that, we'll move on to internal items. I'm looking for a motion that the items of internal correspondence be received. Councilor Rutley, Councilor Manuel. All those in favor? Opposed? My apologies, Councilor Dale. I didn't see your hand there quick enough. And the first one is a memo with regards to elections, communications, and conduct guidance. And just bringing that up. Ms. Seville?
Thank you, Mayor Zust. This memo outlines the town of Golden's protocols related to communication activities, conduct, and the use of town resources leading up to the 2026 municipal election, which will take place on October 17th. Starting at the beginning of the nomination period, which is September 1st, 2022, until general voting day on October 17th, we will be scaling down communications and pausing all public engagement activities to convey neutrality and maintain a nonpartisan environment leading up to the election. This will also help to make sure town operations do not become politicized or appear to be in support of or in alignment with any political candidate, group, or issue. Regular operational communications for projects and initiatives will proceed. However, communications, announcements, and/or public engagement opportunities for new projects or new initiatives, or in instances where there may be the likelihood of public debate or scrutiny, will pause during this period. No communications will reference the name or image of any current member of council during this time. The memo also outlines conduct related to the use of town resources for both staff and council during an election. In addition to being circulated on the council agenda and to all of council, this has also gone out internally to staff as well. So I welcome any questions about that.
Thank you, that Ms. Seville. So council, this is an information item. Any thoughts, comments relative to the information contained within the memo? Seeing, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item of internal correspondence, which is another memo with regards to, oh, here it is. Ms. White, with regard to expenditure of council corporate sponsorship fund.
Thank you, Your Worship. This nice short and sweet memo is just to provide council with the update as per our policy. This was actually provided on June 30th and also included in this agenda. So it shows you all the expenditures that are now posted to the website and reported as of June 30th and December 1st each year. The memo also just briefly explains the authority of the mayor and CAO to jointly approve these applications for sponsorship during the year. And the chart summarizes the year-to-date expenditures for 2026.
Thank you for that information item. Any comments, questions by council? Actually, just a reiteration that it's a $10,000 sponsorship budget. Can you speak to, I note that the last two sponsorships have a number of acknowledgements, and I'm assuming this is a new process as of that, and that there were those acknowledgements by the previous sponsorships, but we just didn't have the process in place. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I guess we'll move on to the next one, which is, you get to stay there, right? You have a memo from Ms. White with regards to the bylaw enforcement stats for Q2 of 2026. Ms. White.
Yes, thank you. As we do each quarter, we are here to provide you with a summary of the bylaw enforcement activities that took place in the second quarter. We have summarized each of the priorities that were set out at the end of 2025 for the year of 2026. And those being this time around the animal control bylaw and educational campaign. Briefly, we introduced the bylaw earlier this year. We then shifted our efforts to public engagement about the bylaw. We enhanced signage around the community. We undertook initiatives with the bylaw enforcement officer being out in the community talking to people. The bylaw enforcement officer also introduced a good behavior initiative where when we see folks with their dogs on leash or in the areas where they should be, or just in general behaving as good pet owners, we are handing out little doggy treats for the good behavior. It's been very well received in the community. We overall are seeing great response to the new bylaw. Lots of compliance. Our overall complaints regarding off-leash dogs have taken a downturn. So that's great. We're hopeful by the end of the year, we can have a little bit more fulsome numbers for you to see, but we're seeing good progress there. Our public info session was well received, although we didn't have a huge turnout. The folks that did come out really enjoyed it. It was really amazing to see the contracted animal trainer turn a bunch of rowdy dogs into very well-behaved pets as they did their little run around cones and whatnot. And we had some folks come out, the bylaw officer and myself were set up at a table with all sorts of information. And so we got to interact with the community and answer questions, and it was great. We are working on planning another event for the early fall. Priority 2 and 3 are typical priorities for this time of year, being bear bins and attractants and watering restrictions. We did have a new Bear Aware coordinator join us this year, Chloe Simpson. And she spent much of her early days sort of doing outreach and answering emails, coming to meet us, getting to know our bylaw officer, and working with the local conservation officer with garbage tagging and event planning, which is typical of her work at this time of year. Chloe's also spending a bit of time at the farmers markets this year and will be working with our bylaw officer closely as the season progresses. Overall, though, we are not seeing a huge influx of bear interactions in the community this year, or otherwise other wildlife either, which is great. We have been proactive in our watering restrictions patrol, which we do each year. We did have a very wet and cool spring. End of May, early June was quite wet. So we saw very few infractions in Q2, but we do expect with the hotter and drier weather that we'll see an uptick in the next quarter's report. It's pretty typical of this time of year as well. And priority 4 being short-term rentals, which we continue to enforce through complaint-based enforcement measures. We had one reported infraction in the second quarter, which resulted in a closed file. So that was resolved, and that's great. Our regular and ongoing priorities continue. We have ramped up our walking patrol of the downtown now that the weather's sort of cooperating, and that gives the bylaw officer a chance to really interact with folks and provide education. So that's always well received. The rest is in chart form and number form, and I will leave it to you to ask any questions on that if you have any. And we've also outlined our Q3 goals, and that's all for me.
Thank you, Council. Any comments, questions? Councilor Guillaume?
Yes, I just want to comment that it's great that this animal control bylaw is getting such accolades for being probably one of the best in BC. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I love the fact that we're rewarding the critters for the actions of the owners.
We didn't think it was appropriate to hand out Chips Ahoy's as well, so.
And the other part, you said it was rowdy dogs. So I've got a bunch of rowdy friends and buddies. Maybe that trainer could come in and help with them too.
Pretty sure she only works with the furry creatures, but you could ask.
Okay, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're moving on to the next internal correspondence. I'll just bring it up here. We have a memorandum from Mr. Armstrong with regards to development process improvement project. Mr. Armstrong.
Yeah, thank you, Council. Just a brief memo about an internal project that we're just dipping our toes into now. It'll be a multi-year project, but it's one, frankly, I've been wanting to start on since before we got the huge development interest during the COVID era. And then we had some infrastructure master plans we were working through, and And now we're kind of coming to the some advancements on our DCC and OCP. So it seems like a good time to start another project. And in prepping for this, the Canadian Institute of Planners recently put out a course on streamlining development application processes, which I took a few weeks back, and it was great. So there's definitely room to improve as always and continually. And we're looking forward to the additional resources that Blue Rock Consulting will bring to help the town out, and the various parties that are involved in processing development applications. So this will take a few years, but there'll definitely be some results rolled out along the way. And for example, things like a quarterly report that you just saw about bylaw services, we can do something similar to that. And a few council meetings ago, we were talking about reporting on the OCP. That's kind of shown in the last number here, specific to the development aspects of the OCP, but it can be built into that aspect as well. So just a brief memo to inform council and other stakeholders about this process is underway.
Thank you for that, Council. Any comments, questions to Mr. Armstrong? Councilor Manuel?
Simply said, this sounds very good. I look forward to seeing how it progresses.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you able to give just a brief statement about the activities of 2026 in this multi-year program?
We're still working through that with the consultant, but at this point, it'll be providing some development statistics, benchmarking our community to other communities that may be a bit larger based on our population size, but with a comparable catchment zone. So just looking at the resources internally that different communities have. And then working on some of that reporting back to council. Those will probably be some of the initial steps, reviewing like quantitative and qualitative data, like in the first point there, and coming back to council. I envision the council will have an update on the project by the end of the year.
Thank you for that. And I asked just so that people are clear of expectations. And what my takeaway is that we're gathering foundational information to be able to move forward with. Is that correct? Thank you. Anything else, council? If not, again, that was an information item. We'll move on to item 7E. Excuse me, looking for a motion that the items of outgoing correspondence be acknowledged. Moved by Councilor Guerrero, second by Councilor Manuel. My apologies. And that's a letter under do you want to speak to the letter? Councilor Cooper's letter signature.
We had Minister Palmer here in our community who met with some community members and went over some policies, and it was just nice to have him here in our community, learning about our community and our issues. And area director Karen Cathcart was representing, and this letter was a thank you from her and on behalf of town council to Minister Palmer for coming to our community to speak with us and listen to us. So it's great.
Thank you for that. I understand you had a very full tour of the community. And I also saw some social media posts where you standing in town speaking, and that the community in the background, which is great. And thank you for hosting me. And my apologies for not being available. With that, we'll move on to the next item, which is council reports. New reports from councils on their activities in the last, it's been over a month. So watch out, folks. Councilor Manuel, start us off.
Okay, I attended the meeting of the Okanagan Regional Library Board, and it was largely dealing with advocacy, because the provincial government had cut some of our funding. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was a cut, and their rationale for making the cut just didn't hold water. I mean, got the impression that they're looking to find little cuts wherever they can because they're broke, but that's my impression. Secondly, I also attended a meeting with other councillors that we were invited to by Tourism Golden. I was happy to hear of an interest in increasing tourism in times of the year when it is less common, and also spreading the tourism business where practical with the purpose of extending tourism activities and attraction. An example of expanding attractions for town is in the Golden Sky Bridge. They plan to increase their openings to include a winter opening and a nighttime opening in the winter. I would share what activities they're planning, but that is their news. I will only say that it is imaginative, and I look forward to checking this out. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any question of the Council Manuel? If not, any other council reports? Council Wheel?
So June 24th, I attended the Film Readiness Stakeholder Meeting. It was attended by Tourism Golden, Golden Community and Economic Development, Director of Corporate Services, Golden Chamber of Commerce, and El Nino Productions, myself. We have been meeting now for almost a year, probably even maybe over a year, actually. What was I say? Well, absent was Area Director and Kicking Horse Culture. We were not able to attend. Since we started these meetings, we have chosen Kootenai Film Commission and as our organization to go under, and we have established a budget to move this economic sector ahead, and there'll be more to come. On July 9th, I attended the Art of Migration with Siebel at AGOG, and it's here to the end of July, so I really encourage everybody to get out and see it. Its aim is to raise the profile of immigrants and immigration in the region, and the view of the realities of immigration are often poorly understood by many Canadians. And an interesting kind of tie-in with the Director of Planning, there was a representative from Blue Rock that was actually an immigrant, I believe, is in that display. So that's kind of really participated in this program. And I also attended the Tourism Golden Lunch and Learn, and it was great to see that Tourism Golden's board really wants to, and their staff want to meet with council, and we can have shared questions. It was an excellent day for that as well. They kind of their strategic priorities, they kind of went through the process of what they were doing with that, and their alignment, you know, at a higher level with the OCP, if that. So it's kind of comes full circle with that. And then lastly, I attended the Whitetooth Legacy Racket Courts opening, and that was incredible. All the people that showed up, and it's a beautiful spot up there. A very well done job to our Director of Recreation and all the partners that got that going. Well, that's what I have. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Councilor Wheel. Any questions of Councilor Wheel? Okay, seeing none, any other reports? Councilor Cooper?
So we'll just go around the table. I attended the Kicking Horse Culture July 13th meeting, and I brought before last time we were talking about the BC Live nomination for a festival and the process. So since then, I've written to BC Live and asked if we had to be a member to nominate a festival, which we do not. So on behalf of council, I would like to nominate Kicking Horse Culture if I get kind of consensus, everyone's okay with that, just to nominate the festival for an award for in the next coming season. I also attended the pickleball opening, and it was great, and congratulations. It is a very nice facility. It's nice to see that area completed and in really nice harmony with what's already there, with the ball fields, also with the jumps. Like, it really, seeing it on paper and then actually seeing how it flows in together is very well done, and it makes the space really feel completed and gives a way better look to what it used to be. And lots of years of work on that with the funds, and appreciated. It looks great. I also attended the Tourism Golden Lunch, and the strategic priorities. And I really, to add on to what was already said, I really liked their vision that included the community. It wasn't just Golden area. Like the wording that they used, I think was very informative of how they approach tourism and how they also respect the community and want to work together and their strategies. And I really liked the whole idea of the community, the way they've worded their vision. I really appreciated it. And I felt like it really was in alignment with our own priorities as well. So I thought that was a really great job. Also, I had a couple people reach out after Canada Day to me asking about our town's history with Canada Day and fireworks and why the town is not participating, putting on Canada Day and fireworks, which I know that has not been the town doing it, and it has been other organizations, but I wanted to just kind of direct and ask Director Petrovich some information for history of Canada Day and our town's history of what happened and why the town has participated the way it has, if I could.
Mr. Petrovic?
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Cooper. Yeah, the fireworks plan we used to be applied for through a grant through Heritage Canada. And we would, the town itself would actually apply for that granting. And that was really kind of the one bigger thing that was event specific that sat on the department's plate. Over the course of the years, I believe we ended up canceling about 4 or 5 shows due to fire hazard. And so the idea of actually going after fireworks, where every year it was kind of down to the wire on whether we would run a show or not, really became quite concerning. And then over the course of the pandemic, as the findings of the bodies in Kamloops and various tensions on the First Nations front, multiple municipalities across the province actually passed resolutions to stop doing fireworks on Canada Day. At the time, we had more of a lengthy conversation with council, and combined with the challenges of fire season and the different public impact and sensitivities around that. Also aligning with the direction many communities were going around the province around respect to First Nations. And then also various different complaints that would come in, not officially through bylaw channels, but the impact on pets and such. There wasn't a formal motion passed on this, but staff was given the direction to stop pursuing a fireworks show on Canada Day itself. So that's some quick Coles notes on that led us to where we are now.
Thank you, Mr. Petrovic. Any follow-up, Councilor Cooper?
Perfect. No, I just wanted to hear like the history of it, and I really appreciate your time in gathering that information and letting us all aware of. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions of Councilor Cooper? Seeing here none. Any other reports? Councilor Rutley?
Thank you. I will be brief and work backwards through time. Pickleball court's amazing. Not too abrasive on one's knees when they dive for a save. Tourism Golden Lunch and Learn, really great. Not gonna just gonna echo what everyone else has said. And a good opportunity for council and the board to just understand what everyone's doing, what's on everyone's radars. Golden Co-op Radio Block Party, always super fun, and this year wasn't too hot or too rainy, a little bit of a burst. Normally there'd be a chamber meeting between council meetings, but with the summers they're kind of dialed down a bit, and Mel, the manager, is hard at work actioning stuff along. Finally, well, yes, finally. Had the opportunity and privilege to attend the council and the Sukin swearing in ceremony at Akiskalik. I distributed a bit of just a report for council's benefit as far as how we're advancing that strategic priority of developing the relationship with our First Nations partners down the valley. But yeah, it was a powerful afternoon full of ceremony and a beautiful band office that is expected to be having a grand opening in a couple of weeks here in August. And looking forward to the continued work together and relationship.
Thank you for that, Council. Any comments, questions for Councilor Rutley? And thank you for attending the event at the Kiskinik. Okay, here he goes. Oh, perfect. You saved. Councilor Hambrick?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I guess the only one I want to report on is the Kootenai Regional Hospital District. I attended on June 12th. Or I think it was the 12th, maybe 11th. Because Mayor Wilkes from Sparwood has stepped down, we had to elect a new chairman. Elected chairman was Larry Jackman. He's from the West Kootenays. And the vice chair was from Radium, Councillor, I can't remember his name. Anyhow, he's the vice chair. I guess the only project that is still in discussion, but no direction has been yet put in place, is the CT scanner for Golden. There were some suggestions made to try other alternate financing options. And I think that's a kind of a slippery slope to go on, as far as I'm concerned, because you can pit one community against the other. And if one community can raise more money than the other, it might wind up in the wrong community from our perspective. So I guess that's about it for me.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions for Councillor Hambrick? Actually, I will jump in on the, and I liked your language, alternate funding options for Interior Health and the Regional Health Board. Basically setting the stage for the potential of the have and have not communities. The Interior Health has gone through a fairly extensive process of looking at criteria needs for the imaging across their territory, and in fact identified through that process that Golden was the category A, the only community in category A, which was the top category for the installation of an MRI or CT, my apologies. And we continue to have conversations with Interior Health, and I'm with you, Councillor Hambrick, in the hope that it doesn't become a first beyond the post for fundraising to be able to have equipment. Again, it's creating have and have not communities, and that is not the basis of our healthcare system. So thank you very much for your report. Appreciate that. Any other comments for Councillor Hambrick? Seeing none, I'll quickly go into my report. So on June 18th, I attended the CSRD board meeting. I'll provide some information at the end. June 23rd, there was the Lady Gray Elementary School grad ceremonies at Keith King Memorial Park. I was able to hand out certificates for all the students. On the 24th, there was the Columbia Shuswap Regional District Remuneration Committee, of which I was a member. And they're making recommendations to the board on the compensation for directors. Also that day was the GSS grads, where I had the opportunity to hand out some scholarships from the town of Golden. I will thank staff, senior staff, for putting on the Town of Golden barbecue on the 25th. That's great. Show of appreciation for all of our staff. Opportunity for the different departments to actually get together. Also attended on the 25th, the special open council meeting, and the minutes have been approved there. Supplementally, on the 26th, myself and Mr. Denegar met with representatives from the Kiskanook with regards to economic development, basically, as far as the capacities that they have, and they're looking for opportunities for basically for work for their enterprises. On July 7th, Mr. Denegar and I met virtually with some lawyers with regards to options for limited partnership structures for the town of Golden with regards to the community forest, looking at that full spectrum and actually resourcing or gathering information from someone who's in the business, done it before, and maybe we'll be doing it again for us in the future. Who knows? On the 15th, I had the second remuneration meeting, and that group has put forward a proposal that will go to the CSRD board in August. And then on the 16th was the CSRD board meeting, again, separate notes there. And on the 18th, Rec Sports grand opening at the White Tooth Legacy Courts. At that opening, I spoke to the importance of the funding that came from that for that facility, and that, again, that legacy language, and that these were the funds from the White Tooth Ski Hill Society and the community, and through the sale of White Tooth Ski Hill back in 1997, I think the referendum was. The community decided to sell White Tooth, which was a community-owned asset, and I think it was 97.68% of the populace that voted were in favor of selling that, and hence we have Kicking Horse Mountain Resort here today. But there was some proceeds from that sale, and the residual of those proceeds were about $560,000, and that was it was after 5 years, so it was probably 2002 that money was realized. There was paying off some debt. There was providing some funds to the White Tooth Ski Society for the White Tooth Affordable Ski Program. That was in the form of $200,000, and that continues to this day to provide opportunities for students to get onto the ski hill. So in my mind, this was great to see that $560,000 grow to a couple millions of dollars over that course of 20 years, 25 years. For me, it was a great closing of a file, but also speaks to the fact that these files take a long time to close. I mean, there was $2 million there, which sounds like a great thing, but you've got to find the right place for that money. And I think we found that in both the White Tooth Legacy Racket Courts and the White Tooth Legacy Park. So I'm thrilled about that. I'll move on. Also attend to the Resort Community Collaborative Mayors Group. And that's a group of the 14 resort municipalities mayors who get together and chit chat and take on collective challenges. The meeting reviewed provincial and local work on addressing tourism-driven infrastructure pressures. And that's, every community is suffering from that, but for resort communities, it's 105-fold in that for every guest or for every resident in our community, in the resort communities, there are 105 visitors that come in and use the services, whether that be police, water, sewer, fire services, ambulance. So these communities are challenged, and they're dealing with some funding constraints. The meeting also talked about updates on the Resort Municipality Initiative Program refinements, the Municipal Regional District Tax modernization, and some exploratory work on tourism resort style levies. The group has chosen not to use the word taxation for visitors, but that in fact is what it will be. And it's an opportunity, well, looking at opportunities to be able to generate revenues from visitors that don't impact the residents. And that's not a bad thing. It happens in many other places. The group also talked about principles guiding the funding work that the group is doing. There was each of the attendees speak to some of the activities that are happening in their area, and each and every one of them spoke to documented heavy summer visitation and event demand, with some mixed in-store spending. So there's the visitors coming, are they spending as much as they used to, as we like to have them, and conversations around the infrastructure strain by virtue of the visitors. I think I'll leave that one at that. I'll go to the CSRD board meeting. At the June 18th meeting, there was it wasn't in part of the open meeting, but there was a very heartfelt, excuse me, tribute to Director Kevin Flynn, who passed away suddenly. information of note from the meeting was, the group talked about, their attendance to UBCM and some of the highlights that they would like to bring to some of the ministerials. And I just have a quick list for you. MOTT with regards to road conditions, Zebra Quagga Muscle Program, Road Rescue, Rural Medical Services, and mosquitoes and the use of drones. Does any of that sound familiar? There was talk about taxation or the reaffirmation of taxation going into the solid waste management program to the tune of $600,000 in 2026. This is on top of the tipping fees. And that people will note that now when you go on to the landfills throughout the CSRD, there is a $5 basically entry fee, whether you're going to the reuse center or to use any of the free services there. We also dealt with the wood waste shingle grinding contract. It was a 5-year contract for $2.125 million. So, I mean, these are the costs that are associated with the landfill, and these are real costs, and they have to, the money has to come from somewhere. There was one note. Anyways, okay, I'll leave that. Move on to just information that the electoral area director for Area 8, Director Cathcart, provided $500 to the Purcell Orchestra. There was additional money, contingency monies put into the mosquito program for Golden and Area A, Revelstoke and Area B. And the resolution about the wood lot was supported. And now we get on to the July 15th meeting. So there was a letter of support for MyBC Datacom to do a fiber build in electoral area E and C. So we in Golden and electoral area are not the only ones struggling with connectivity. It's real and it's out there everywhere. The Solid Waste PTA Technical Advisory Committee, I believe it was closed off at that meeting by virtue of that was the gathering of all the technical people doing all the preliminary work for the solid waste management program. They have done their work and that committee is now kind of dissolved. There was electoral area grants and for the Golden District Historical Society for $1,500 for the fall fair. And there was $6,000 for the Golden Co-op radio for I believe it's an FM antenna. There may be some information on that later on in the agenda. And Golden Seniors basketball, $10,000. An interesting note that there was a side note is Sycamore area also gets EO Economic Opportunity Fund dollars, and they have committed $86,000 a year for 4 years for their health center. So many communities take the interpretation of economic benefit in many different ways. At the last board meeting on July 15th, the CSD also supported the $60,000 to GCED, which we had missed on. And that was, I will say, our error, local government's error. And I would say probably we wear that one, but it's been dealt with, it's been fixed, and we're hoping that the check went through right away. Here's the other item with regards to solid waste management. At the July 15th meeting, staff brought up the fact that they're now going to charge 2.4% credit card convenience charge to recover the cost of use of credit cards at the landfill. Doesn't sound like a big deal. Well, for the CSRD in 2025, that 2.4% equated to $88,000. So that's money that would have been recovered, that was actually lost through the use of credit cards that we are now going to recover. I think that's it. Any questions on any of those items? Thank you for your indulgence. And we'll move on to the on the agenda. If there are no questions, we go on to 10A, Chief Administrative Officer, your verbal update for this meeting. Sir, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Not to be outdone, I also attend meetings. I don't have the dates of them, sorry. I started that. I'm like sure to do that in the future. A lot of them we actually attended together, but here's a quick overview. Had a meeting together with staff and community stakeholders and partners for the Confluence, Canyon to Confluence initiative. Really good sort of just getting everybody on the same page with how we're trying to make that progress. And there'll be more meetings to come to keep everybody aligned, but a very positive initiative. Ongoing work with various staff, both exempt and CUPE, and external support for the Joint Job Evaluation Committee. So that work is ongoing, quite time consuming, and it's ballooned into something bigger and better than it was originally intended, which is a full rewrite of every JD in our organization, job description within our organization. It's been a very positive change. It is taking a lot of time though. So if you're seeing staff looking like we're frazzled, it's because we're doing more than we intended to this year in many ways, and this is one of them, but the outcome will be very positive, and the relationships that are being built between CUPE and the employer here out of that process, because it's very collaborative. We take off our CUPE and management hats and we work together as an independent, almost like a third-party committee. It's been very, very good for that relationship building and understanding of each other's viewpoints on the workplace. So more to come on that as we move forward. I attended a Civic Info BC annual general meeting. Hopefully most of you are aware of what that is. It's the province through legislation established a partnership between provincial ministries and municipal organizations and associations. It's sort of the central repository and processor of a lot of data that's used by local government. You'll especially see it during local elections as they're live feeding out the information on election results, but they do a bunch of things. In that AGM, I was appointed as a member of the board, so I finally get to have more influence in there. I've been trying for 20 years to get on the board. It's a very stable board, so I was glad to get in there and having an initial onboarding meeting tomorrow. I've worked with them closely for many years and know Todd Pugh very well. Used to actually be his IT consultant back when I ran a company, so I had an in. But very exciting organization. They've got some really big initiatives that I'll tell you more about once we can make them public. Also attended the Golden CED board meeting as the inaugural one I was able to attend. It's part of that council resolution to have a liaison on the board of Golden CED as well as Tourism Golden. So this is the first meeting with them. It went quite well. I think they said it was their longest meeting in a very long time, probably because I was blabbing away. But I think that was very good for us to sort of start understanding each other's perspective on things. And I look forward to further meetings with their board and director to try to make sure that we're aligned on everything. Thank you for everyone who was able to attend the staff and council summer barbecue put on by Public Works primarily. I believe it was the intention that the mayor and some council members would be flipping burgers, but I hear that the Public Works crew and some fire crew just really love playing with fire. So they took over the barbecue and wouldn't give it up to you, but thanks for attending and having the chats with staff. I know that's really meaningful to them. Also attended with the mayor that meeting with Kiskanek regarding ECDEV opportunities. So sort of a light relationship, but I think as long as we keep meeting with them regularly, we'll find ways to work together and look forward to increasing that. Also, this is a good segue for the Mine Council that in your budget, you have $5,000 to go have meals and break bread with First Nations. So please spend it. We're halfway through the year and I haven't seen a penny spent. So please do that. This is a great opportunity. Use any of these segues with them, any of these meetings with them to reach out and build those relationships. Also attended that meeting about the community forest. Lots more work to do, but I think we have all the right experts at our fingertips to help us through that. And I think it's a great opportunity. It's not going to be overnight. I think we're looking at years, but I think we're getting our ducks in a row. And finally, as Mr. Armstrong mentioned, the multi-year project with Blue Rock Planning has been initiated. So I attended with Mr. Armstrong and Jonathan from Blue Rock. He's the principal there. We had our project kickoff meeting. kind of looked at the draft plan, and the details of that are still to be worked out to make sure it fits within Mr. Armstrong's very, very busy work plan for the next 2 years. So see how that goes, but very positive. Now into the departments, corporate services and communications, time change survey. If you haven't filled it in, it is now live. It went live August. It's now live. It's live until August 3rd. So this is a collaborative effort between the RDEK, the Town of Golden, and CSRD Area A. Residents can take the survey at engage.ardec.bc.ca/time change, or just check out our website and there's a news article on it. But it's being done as one giant survey for all members who are affected by this potential time change decision. And the data is being collected with regional information. So each board, municipality, and so forth can look at just what your own residents are saying within your area and then compare it to the larger feedback, and then make your decision based on both qualitative and quantitative information out of that survey. And nothing saying you can't fill in the survey yourself as council members, as individual members of the public. You could do that too. I've already given my response. So that once that's done, then we'll gather, analyze it, and bring reports to both the board and council and the area director. Staff will be hosting a pre-election candidate session tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the White Tooth Brewery. Many thanks to Councillors Hambrook and Yo for agreeing to be our outgoing council panelists. They can always change their mind. But at this point, they've declared that they're outgoing, so they were invited to speak, to give their insights into their time on council, and there'll be a bunch of questions for them. And we hope that the public show up and ask their own questions about what it's like to be on council and what the surprises were. So no registrations required. It is open to all members of the public, so please do show up. If anybody's interested in running, you're encouraged to attend. In the nomination packages, if you've heard things that are good and you're excited after that session, your nomination packages will be available starting August 4th at Town Hall and on our website. On that note, for information on the 2026 election, you can visit golden.ca/2026 election, where you can find key dates and information about voting. As of July 2nd, the Town of Golden is now participating. This is a totally different subject, nothing to do with elections, just no segue there. On July 2nd, Town of Golden is now participating in the Electric Kick Scooter Pilot Project. It's that provincial project to open up those very fun electric scooters that you see going around town. We are now officially legally allowing that in compliance with the town's latest traffic, parking, and streets bylaw. It was actually the intention, if council remembers back at the time that bylaw was passed, it was the intention that we would join that program. There was a communications hiccup with the province. That hiccup has been corrected. We drank some water, stood on our heads, and now the hiccup's gone, and we're listed as a participating member. So you can check that out on our website. If you go under the Parks and Trails section of our site, there's more information on that. And I do believe there was some public post about it as well. And the RCMP have been informed of it as well, so they know what to enforce and what not to enforce. We do hope everyone wears helmets. Over to planning and development. Work has started on the development process improvement with Blue Rock Planning, as I've mentioned. So very exciting project. And a development permit. Here's a big one. Development permit was issued for 1401 La Fontaine Hotel and Subdivision, as well as the development permit for BC Housing for the Women's Center, Women's and Children's Housing Project. So some big DPs out the door. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. In Public Works, EUF funding has been confirmed to support the feasibility review of the airport instrument flight procedures. There's a mouthful of technical babble. Basically, it's to improve fixed wing emergency access at the airport during inclement weather. So increasing by a certain percentage. I'm not sure if we have an actual percent increase, but it is increase in the ability for planes to come and go when the weather's not so great, to help improve emergency services to our community.
Annual sanitary pipelining is scheduled to commence later this month. Again, helping out with reducing that inundation of groundwater. Roadway line marking is completed for the season, so if we missed a spot, let us know. We'll look at it next year. And some fantastic news, arrival of the long anticipated engineering technician and automotive technician. They're expected in mid-August. So a long process, but I think we got some really good candidates and we really hope they show up. And last but not least, recreation services. As you know, those who attended, the grand opening ribbon cutting at the Whitetooth Legacy Racket Courts facility was hosted on the 18th. Thank you to the mayor and area A director for leading that ceremony. And I think the head count was over roughly around 40 plus people. So sounded like a good event. Sorry I couldn't make it. I was out of town. Golden Swimming Pool is busy. Past weekend, July 17th to 19th, the pool hosted the Golden Dolphin Swim Meet, which attracted 235 swimmers from Revelstoke, Salmon Arm, Penticton, Kamloops, Kelowna, Princeton, and Dawson Creek. So not bad for a little pool in Golden. And in that area, construction on the Whitetooth Legacy Park washroom facility at the Recplex block will begin during the first week of August. The old racket court site will be closed as the work begins, transforming that entire site this fall. I think most of it will be done. Petrovics can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe most of the project will be done this year with some finishing touches in the spring. And the mayor commented earlier on the length of time it's took to spend all that Whitetooth Legacy funding. I think in some ways it's great and that really good decisions were made about locations, and the public feedback has helped shape that project. And I think also the time allowed for more leveraging of those funds through sources like CBT. So sometimes slower is better. Not always, but sometimes. Fall program planning and space allocation for the Recplex and Arena are ongoing. Ice building will commence in early August to support the Friday, August 21st opening. Hopefully it cools off. And finally, the consultant team in the rec department have been busy with the Golden Aquatics Next Steps study and on track to present a report to council at the next regular open council meeting on August 18th. So bring your swim trunks. A presentation to council and the area A director will include details on 3 facility options as per the project plan and what council directed, which is repairs and upgrades to the existing pool, a potential new outdoor pool, or a potential new indoor pool. As part of the project, a public information event will be hosted during the evening of August 18th at the Civic Center, and that will be advertised through multiple channels. And that is my update for today. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Denegar. Council, any questions, comments with regards to Mr. Denegar's report? Councilor Manuel?
It's a question and kind of a request. Economic development has been we've dealt with in many different ways, times in this in the last few years. I'm just thinking, I'd like to see, and maybe it's realistic, I don't know, if you could do some kind of report to us at some point of your convenience about what council should know about economic development, which I would leave to your judgment, but we're going to have a new council coming forth pretty soon. So let's give them a running chance into running in good information to start with. And if it comes sooner, great, but it's again, you're busy. So would that be practical?
Yeah, appreciate a good comment. That comment lines up very well with the EUF discussion later this meeting. So maybe it's something that could be discussed as part of that, as the broader theme of economic development and as it relates to the EOF funds. It's also a sort of a service level discussion. So something that could be had as part of that discussion and or part of strategic planning refresh that would occur under the new council. So yeah, happy to discuss that with council, and perhaps the first kick at that could be during the discussion later this meeting when we talk about EOF funding and making sure that we're getting what council expects out of that.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions? I have a couple here. Thank you for adding the liaison position for GCED to your list of things to do. And know everyone's busy, but it's appreciated. And thank you to Mr. Armstrong for his work through those DPs. It's great to see that stuff moving forward. With regards to the next meeting, be careful what you wish for when you're asking people to come in their swimsuits. I was able to attend the swim meet and my mind quickly went to, it would be great to have had drone footage of it was just a busy place. The swimming pool expanded to take in every piece of real estate that was close by. It was quite overwhelming. It was great. I think that was it for my comments. Thank you very much for the report. And if there's nothing else, we will move on to item A10AC, which is the Council Strategic Plan Q2 Progress Report. We have a staff report on our agenda. Mr. Denegar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the second time we're doing this, which is the quarterly progress reporting, which is a sort of a best practice to make sure that council knows where we're at with the strategy you developed. So reminder, little symbols mentioned there in the report that something's been achieved or delayed or halted. So far, nothing's been halted or deferred. We're on track with most things. I think most of the delays are actually assigned to me. So it's easy to take the blame for those ones. They're marked clearly. You'll note in the progress report chart that there's one that's actually ahead of schedule. Good job, Mr. Cochran. He was very eager to get some sensors in the ground and didn't want to wait for Q3 and just went for it. So good for him. I like that. But the expectation is that we try to be on schedule. So that's also good when people check them off at the schedule. You'll see a number of comments through there. The premise is no news is good news. Directors love sharing, so there's a little bit of oversharing there, and I thought I should just let them leave their comments to stand. So if you've got any questions about anything, feel free. Any staff over here would be happy to answer any questions or concerns you have regarding the progress on these, but otherwise I'll let it speak for itself and answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions about the update? Council Cooper?
I just made a note on the one then. It was about reserve. So developing reserves for the police fund and how it was noted that we're going to look at it later in next budget report. And I also kind of wanted to comment that we were also waiting for Stats Canada supports and the BC stats to come out on population. So that was like, wasn't just about that. It was also about finding the actual stats. So I don't know if it's a point to be noted, but when it comes back, it really needs to wait till we have those the data to support the proper decision making. So that was the only thing I wanted to note on it.
No, that was a good comment. And as part of the staff report, we did say any notes that you want changed in there, we'll change it. So that's an easy one for us to add that little note to it. There's limited space, so we try to keep them short, but thank you. That is a good point.
Very valid point for sure. Anything else, council? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on the agenda to item.
Point of order, there's a
Councilor Rowley.
sorry, there is a council resolution to receive, and so I'm happy to move that recommendation.
Thank you for that catch. Looking for a seconder. Councilor Cooper. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you for that. We move on to 10BA, which is the operating budget amendment for the council orientation training. Ms. Seville, you're speaking to that staff report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Ozust. This is a quick staff report to outline a needed correction to the 2026 to 2030 financial plan. In preparation for the 2027 budget process, we discovered a minor misallocation. The current budget allocates all funding for the council orientation training in 2027. However, staff intended to budget for this training over the course of 2026 and 2027. A contractor and dates have already been secured for the new council orientation, with part 1 scheduled for this November 2026, just shortly after the election. With this, I'm bringing forward a budget amendment to rectify the error, requesting that council approve an operating budget amendment to reallocate $10,075 from 2027 to 2026 to be funded from the Financial Stabilization Reserve. The 2027 budget will be amended as part of the 2027 budget process.
Thank you for that. Council Guo, you moving that?
Yes, I'll move that recommended resolution.
Thank you. Looking for seconder, Council Routley. Any discussion, council? Seeing here none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Now we're moving on to the Planning and Development Services. We have a report from the sharply dressed Mr. McPhee.
Well, Your Worship, thank you as always. I do my best, I suppose. The first item I have here for everybody is a proposal to install a broadcast antenna on the Okanagan Regional Library's Golden Branch roof. And the representatives of Golden Co-op Radio, as such, had to complete what's known as the ISED default consultation process. And there are aspects of this report that are somewhat technical. Some of the documentation is very technical. However, the overall height of the antenna, if installed, would be 11.6 meters. There is a diagram of it in terms of what it will more or less look like. The visual impact is expected to be somewhat muted and not very intense and so on. And as such, the most important aspects of the consultation or notification process, I suppose from any council's perspective, would be the mail out to adjacent landowners. And that is done to a height 3 times the height of the overall antenna as measured from the facade of the building. And that was completed, and as such, there were no comments received from the members of the public and or landowners. In the case of a mast that's over a certain height, there must be a notice in the paper. And so you could say that the notification process is somewhat proportional to the perceived visual impact or overall height of the installation. From there, other pertinent aspects of the notification process entail consulting with NAV Canada and Transport Canada, and that is to do with any potential for radio interference from the broadcasting on the spectrum that contains other important telecommunications. The Transport Canada aeronautical obstruction form that's in your information package is concerned with making sure that the physical antenna or mast doesn't interfere with air traffic. And I can certainly fill out as much background for you about the actions of Golden Co-op Radio as you wish. However, this is the culmination of several years of inquiries and examinations and consultations. And turns out the best solution they could find was right on the top of the roof from where they broadcast from. They did also, in terms of the local environment regarding air traffic, reach out directly regarding the proximity to the helipad. And that is contained in Section 8 of the report or public notification package, as it's technically known. And another important aspect of the notification package is that all radio communications that are governed by ISED in Canada must in fact comply with Health Canada's Safety Code 6 standard. And the attestation in the package states that they will in fact comply with that standard. And the notification package was prepared by an engineer that they engaged who specializes in this sort of this work. And so the packages went out mid-May, and mid-April, the 30-day consultation period had expired, if you will, or passed by, and no comments were received. And so in the interest of time and the somewhat technical nature of some of the information contained in the package, I would be open to any questions that might be forthcoming.
Thank you for that. We have a recommendation of a resolution for council. Councilor Grillo, questions of clarification prior,
Question first.
please?
With regards to the old courthouse and
Hmm.
that build, is that taken in consideration for the flight path to the hospital if they put an antenna on the library?
For a point of clarity, the proposal for the roof of the Golden Library or Okanagan Regional Library branch is independent of any other structures or any proposals. And if I heard you correctly, should that project eventually build out, it'll be much higher than the antenna would ever be. Mind you, though, the development permit process did actually engage with the very same people that deal with the helipad and so on and so forth. So that was accounted for during that process.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know because that was the concern of that building was the fact that it was coming in this way. So I thought if this goes up, it might be an issue, but no, this is.
Oh, yes. Okay, sure. Certainly.
Thank you. Any other questions of clarification prior to getting the resolution on the floor? Councilor Cooper?
I can get the resolution phone as well, but I was like, I appreciated having that section that it was talking with the hotel or the hospital, because that was the first thing that I thought of when it was like, is this going to be in conflicting with what we've already kind of resolved? So I appreciate having that note in there. It made a big difference to allow it to, and then I will move the motion.
Speaking to the motion prior to getting it on the floor.
That was it. And then I can move the motion.
So we have a mover looking for a seconder. Councilor Welby seconding that. You want to speak to the motion? Thank you.
If I may. Yeah, thank you for the report and certainly supportive. Looking forward to hearing the update from the CRTC regarding the Golden Co-op Radio's application for a developmental license. And then yeah, we can have yet another resource for emergencies or just general content for Golden. So super supportive.
Thank you for that. Anything else, Councilor Manuel?
I just wanted to thank also, I mean, the CSRD, this is their building. And, you know, they're supporting and just as much as we are have in the past. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
I guess my only comment is I find it interesting that groups like this providing a public service have to go through such extensive processes, and I'm sure costs associated with this, not only the purchase of the antenna, but the bureaucracy that they've had to go through and the time that's been involved. So thank you to the Golden Co-op Radio members for their diligence on this. It's taken them a while, that's for darn sure.
Oh, sure. And on that note, the level of diligence they've displayed here is equivalent to that I have dealt with over the years for large telecom providers doing wireless installations. And so when you are indeed, you know, caught up in the net of the federal government, if I may, they answered the call, I think, just to be very objective about it.
Thank you for that. So council, if there's any more conversation with regards to the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much for your report, and we'll move on to section C, which is CB, which is a development variance permit. Mr. McPhee, you have a staff report for us with regards to the detached secondary dwelling.
Yes, I'll jump right into it in the interest of time. At the June 16th council meeting, a authorization was sought to engage in the public notification process for a variance to zoning bylaw 1294/2011. This was a reduction in the side setback from 3 meters to 1.5 meters. Having completed the public notification process, no comments were received, and we're now seeking resolution to authorize the issuance of the development variance permit. If there are any questions, I certainly am ready to answer.
Thank you for that. And council, any questions of clarification prior to getting the resolution on the floor? Seeing none, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Councilor Guile moving that, Councilor Manuel seconding that. Anybody wanting to speak to the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we're moving on to 10CC. Does that sound like a band? Sorry. We have a staff report from Mr. Armstrong. Oh, point of order or something?
No, if I may, I was hoping to just declare a conflict and step out. While I have no formal relationship with the applicant, I do have an indirect pecuniary interest, obviously, in alcohol sales through my private employer. And so just on the erring on caution, I just figure I would remove myself from the process.
Thank you, that will be noted for the minutes. With that, Mr. Armstrong.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Zust. In front of council is a report on the Rockwater and their application for a liquor primary for various aspects of a liquor primary structural change. Just before I delve into the report, we missed attaching, well, I missed, honestly, the attaching some of the correspondence, which was a letter from the operator, Pat Laguerre, and the business owner, Kurt Thorne, or the property owner, Kurt Thorne, as well as the occupant load drawings, and a prior report from 2017 where the establishment looked to extending their hours to 4 a.m., which was denied at the time. Those attachments have been circulated to council, and they'll be posted as part of the minutes of this meeting, as well as if council passes this resolution, they'll be part of the public notice that goes on our website, the background information. So with that out of the way, there's two main parts to the structural change application. One is the Rockwater is expanding into the old Reposado space, and as part of that, they have an off sales license, a historic license that would they would be concentrating part of that in that space. So it'll be a whole bar, but they'll also provide off sales from that location. And secondly, the beautiful rooftop patio at the Rockwater was constructed about a decade ago. However, in the haste of trying to open it that particular summer, it was licensed under the food primary license of the White Tooth Bistro, which doesn't require a public process and is a very straightforward application to go through with the Liquor Cannabis Regulation Branch. So that occurred, and it's kind of been an anomaly since then, that it's you need to basically exit that restaurant and go around the building through the Rockwater or through the Rockwater, either way, through the Rockwater lower patio or through the Rockwater establishment itself and up to this food primary patio. Which can potentially cause the operator some issues at times. So the operator is doing the right thing and submitting this application today to rectify that. Now, the one item I think in regards to this is council's policy on liquor cannabis applications states that patios will be typically supported until 11 p.m. However, council can also consider this is an existing establishment and it's within an area where there's other liquor primary establishments, the bar triangle, so to speak. So that's an area where council can choose to, when the time comes after the public notice, choose to follow its policy, choose a compromise, and that has been discussed with the owner. However, the owner has applied for 2 a.m. or support the owner's application for the rooftop patio. And the rooftop patio can have different hours than the lower patio. Now, one caveat to that is typically if you're applying for a food primary license for your restaurant or your cafe, what have you, the province will allow you to apply up to midnight without a public process. So even a food primary would typically have a public process associated with it nowadays. However, because it was an extension of the existing bistro's license, which went to 2 a.m., they just rolled it into that. So that's just one caveat for council to be aware of, is technically that patio is licensed to 2 a.m. currently as a food primary. So that's it for my presentation. The next steps would be ads would go in the newspaper, sign would go up on the property, and notices would go to property owners and occupants within 100 meters. Thank you.
Thank you for the report, Mr. Armstrong. Council, any questions of clarification prior to getting the resolution on the floor? Councilor Guil?
Now, the rooftop patio has one exit to the outside unless, correct? Or they go through the building?
Mr. Armstrong?
Yeah, correct. You can also go through the building.
Doesn't seem safe.
The fact that there's one exit or
One exit outside, and then that there's actually, how much are they gonna increase the amount on that patio?
seating capacity are you speaking of?
Yeah.
The seating capacity isn't, they're not proposing to increase the capacity on the patio.
So it's 96 people?
Yeah, and just for background, when the rooftop patio went in based on the building type, it was there was an architect involved that oversaw the project, and there was an architect involved again in preparing these updated drawings. So it's been reviewed by both the two architects and our building official.
And you're our building official?
Yeah.
In the fire department?
Presumably through their annual fire inspections or periodic fire inspections.
It hasn't been open for a while, so I was just wondering.
Yeah, I think there's some logistics and staffing is partly why it's not open, but it's sure a great spot when it's open.
And at this point, has there been any other, because I have had people come up and complain about other noise from other bars at night. So this, I'm sure this would be directly across from them as well.
Yeah, I believe the report speaks to some historic complaints that were received. There was two in the last 6-7 years, and it was indeterminate whether it was this establishment or the one just down the river. And we did provide, just for context, some of the prior correspondence for council's information from 2017.
Anything else, Councilor Guil?
So if it was food primary, that means that the White Tooth Bistro would have to stay open till, if they wanted to keep it open till midnight.
Till 2 a.m.
Or to 2 a.m.
Yes.
Any other questions of clarification?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manuel.
Going back to the safety issue, I don't, you said presumably the fire department had checked that out. I'd be more comfortable if we confirm that, because one exit with a popular area, yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. So I'd appreciate if we verified that it had been checked out for safety.
So, Mr. Armstrong, are you able to speak to the safety issue raised by council?
Yeah, just to clarify, there is a second exit off the rooftop patio, and definitely we can send the report to the fire department too, and provide an update at the next council meeting if we proceed with public notification.
Thank you. Follow up, Councilor Guil?
That second exit is right beside the other exit though, right?
No, it's located on the other side of the patio.
There's locking gate.
So it's appearing that council wants to ensure that safety issues, egress are addressed, is what I'm hearing from the questions raised. So to that end, we could actually modify the recommended motion and add the caveat that ensuring that safety egress issues are addressed. So with that, if there's no other questions of clarification, is there somebody willing to put forward a resolution? Possibly a modification of the existing that we have on the board there? Subject to,
Subject to confirmation of fire department. Subject to confirmation from the fire department, they have verified that it is safe for public use. And yeah,
and I guess just a quick question to staff, is the fire department the only agency that would determine safety issues with regards to egress or, and I'm thinking worker safety with regards to WorkSafe BC? So there may be other agencies, we may be tying our hands by just identifying the fire department. It's about talking about the safety issues of egress and let staff deal with that. Mr. Denigar?
Yeah, so I've whispered into Alicia's ear there to just say that BC Fire Code covers
All of
okay?
that.
So like building code is how many people can the patio handle. BC Fire Code is the actual occupancy and use of it in active use as a business space. So that fire code compliance will cover all that.
Thank you for that. Follow up, Councilor Guillaume.
My concern is that you keep a space open where alcohol is consumed and no food's being offered till 2 a.m. with stairs. That seems to be a safety concern to me.
So would that concern be addressed through the BC Fire Code?
It would be addressed if it stayed with the food primary.
Mr. Denigar?
The fire code would consider things like, mass panic and leaving of people in their current mental state. So yeah, that would be considered. Yeah, I think it would be a discussion between the fire and building department.
Okay, thank you for that. So maybe to get this thing moving forward, we have a resolution there. So somebody willing to move that? Councilor Manuel moving that, looking for a seconder, Councilor Hambrick seconding that motion. So I have one question, I'm just wondering what the process is when if there are issues with regard to noise, how would they be dealt with?
That's a very good question. There's no bylaw enforcement typically operating at night. So it's an after the fact event. The RCMP wouldn't likely enforce it. So if council were to pass a resolution with a different closing time for that upper patio, and the patio wasn't closed, then that would be the Liquor Cannabis Regulation Branch. When they're doing their patrols, if that area is open outside of their permitted licensing, that's where they would potentially, that's where they would be able to say, hey, that's in violation of your license, but which is an indirect addressing that noise at a higher level over the river and the berm potentially, right? So it's an indirect way of addressing it. Otherwise, neighborhoods neighbors would have to track noise logs and such and submit them to bylaw officially.
So with that information, we've got the mover and Councilor Manuel and seconded by, has it been seconded by Councilor Hambrick? Is there anything that the mover and the seconder want to do to address as far as an amendment? I'm seeing none, so the motion stands as per the modification. Switch back to that one. Thank you. And that's the addition. Any further discussion? Seeing, hearing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? So I've got Councilor Guillaume Just trying to check. Counselor Dale, my apologies. How did you vote? Counselor Dale, I'm just looking for clarification. Were you voting in favor of the resolution or opposed to the resolution? I'm not sure how we deal with that. Okay, Counselor Dale, I see your hand went up. Is that speaking in favor of the motion or opposed to the motion?
If you're in favor of the motion, raise your hand. If you're not, don't. Okay.
In favor of the motion. Okay, thank you for that subtle difference. So the motion is yeah, I saw Counselor Hambrick's hand. The motion is passed with Counselor Guillo opposed and noted so. Thank you for that. We can bring back in Counselor Routley. Okay, we move on to the Recreation Department. And the first item is Recplex Park Block Tennis Court to Skate Park Reconfiguration Plan. Mr. Petrovic.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, the Whitetooth Legacy efforts continue with the what we're kind of coining as the True White Legacy Park Block. However, the funding for this one actually comes from Columbia Basin Trust, as back in January we received an additional $400,000 from CBT to specifically to tackle building the washroom and conversion of the tennis courts, the old tennis court site, into a bike and skate base zone. At your last council meeting, we did award a contract for the washroom construction and planning. And now we are bringing forward a contract to tackle the work that would be associated with converting the old tennis courts into that skate zone, doing the associated landscaping around the site itself, and hopefully bringing that park to a full sense of completion by the late fall with a little housekeeping items that we anticipate in early 2027. The package itself was posted up on BidBC. We received 3 bids for the package. And at the end of the day, Set in Stone Landscaping was our clear front runner from a pricing perspective, but also have subbed up with some different expertise that actually worked on a contractor that wasn't associated with building the expansion of the existing skate park. So we do have some expertise in terms of some of the concrete work and skate features that we're anticipating to install into that park block. So we're looking for approval of this recommendation to get that contract rolling and get work underway in mid-August. I'll welcome any questions.
Thank you for that. Council, any questions of clarification prior to putting the resolution on the floor? Councilor Cooper?
I just want a question regarding the parking, like how we have, is that going to be lined parking spaces? Because I know as parents and people, we just kind of pull in, park wherever, and it would be nice if it is actually fit parking slots, or what is the plan?
Mr. Pedrick?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. At this point, we don't have the funding in the budget to fully pave the sites along that street block. So the intent would be to just leave it as gravel-based parking, but to look at placing some parallel parking signs or something of that sort through signage can easily be investigated and funded underneath this project.
Yeah, because people often pull in, and you're like, come on. Yeah. So yeah, that parallel parking would be appreciated, I know, by many people.
A wee bit of training involved as various people are coming and going from the site for sure.
Any other questions of clarification before we get a resolution on the floor? Actually, Mr. Pedrick, can you speak to the differences between this proposal and the last proposal that was brought forward to council, which had more of the pathway, raised green areas, and this appears to be more of a pavement?
Yeah, for sure. The reports that we brought forward back in December of last year were purely conceptual for the space, just to give council a general idea of those 3 directions we could go. That report included details on doing ultimately, what is this option? That is more of the skate zone, and we had some integrated pathways. There was also an outdoor sports court that was presented, and then a full-blown, $1 million plus playground. We did do some consultation in combination with Larch Landscape, which was our supporting design on this, and the Golden Skateboard Association. And the feedback from the crew at the Golden Skateboard Association was definitely very motivated towards keeping a big, wide open space. So from a run-in perspective and just people moving around on the skateboards, that there would be that space rather than pathways that can be kind of restricting in terms of how the various skate and bike folks would be kind of lining themselves up for the different obstacles that we plan to install into the space. This option also provided some savings on the budget, as we are looking more at retaining the majority of the asphalt within that space. So less removal costs and everything on that side. So definitely something that was taken into consideration and consulted with the group that's kind of championed so much of this project.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that information. Looking for a mover of the recommended motion resolution. Councillor Routley moving it, Councillor Guillot seconding it. Any questions about the resolution? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're on to bylaws. Motion that council adopt bylaw 1515, 2026, Town of Golden bylaw revision and consolidation authority. Any new information to be provided? None. So council, the mover, Councillor Routley moving it, Councillor Manuel seconded. Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. And moving on to 11B, which is that council give first and second reading to bylaw number 1517, 2026, Town of Golden development cost charges. And this is information that has come before council, I would say, numerous times before. We have a staff report attached to that. Mr. Armstrong, do you want to speak to that?
Well, I've put the timeline there, speaking to your numerous, and a few things are development infrastructure related that are included in that timeline, not necessarily DCC, but still relevant to a lot of the work that the town has led as well along the way. The discussion section is very brief, just recommending first and second reading, pointing out to the background DCC report and the bylaw that is specifically attached now for the first time for council to review. Lastly, there'll be a preliminary review done by the province, the Ministry of Finance, and then the bylaw will come back for third reading, and then it'll come back for adoption. So there'll be a few more times where it'll be at this council table.
Thank you very much for that. What's the wishes of council? Councillor Routley?
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to move forward with the recommendation, which is to grant first and second reading.
Looking for a seconder. Councillor Manuel? Any questions? Councillor Cooper, your hand up?
Yeah, sorry, I had a question about the attachment of the verbal questions and comments. Was that, I just wanted to know when that was from. Was that from our open town session, or was this a different meeting? Just where
Can you identify the page, or?
it's just called Appendix A. Sorry, the Appendix A. When was that?
Yeah, no worries. We held a developer stakeholder session in mid-January, I believe, of this year. And there was also a survey that ran at that time as well. And attached to the background report is the What We Heard report from those two engagement sessions.
So this was prior to the updated DCCs. These comments were prior to the updates.
Correct. And it was those comments that led the council to look at project deferment
Yeah, and that's what I thought. I
in
just
the-
wanted to make sure that these were the
Speaks to the impact.
speaks to before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Council listened and directed staff to make the $10 million project deferment of the sewage treatment plant and look at some rate structures differently from unit rates for residential to square meters.
Thank you for that. So we got moved, duly seconded. There's no other questions, no other queries, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we're on to new business, and we have item 12, not 12A. We'll deal with that up. So we'll deal with item 12, which is the EOF CAO report. Mr. Denegar, which was originally 10AB.
Sorry, I'm just conferring with corporate officer regarding the agenda order. So, sorry, are we jumping into the notice of motion or the deferred item from earlier?
Actually, I've got the staff report as the first item.
Bring that up. Scrolling. It's a big PDF. There, it's loaded. Yeah, so I've consolidated together all the EOF requests that came as a chunk over the last couple of weeks. All these requests go through a new process that was collaboratively decided by staff at both Town of Golden and CSRD. So there's the application forms attached with the explanations from the applicants. So we've got Golden Food Bank Society, Golden CED, and Local Food Matters have all submitted applications. The Golden CED one is broken up into both this core services project and a resourcing project. The Golden Food Bank one and Local Food Matters are just their core annual operating budgets. The project is the societies themselves and everything they do. You'll note in the report, I went a bit more into depth into the policy and why these are being considered through council. It is a collaborative decision, a concurrent decision of both council and board, whether or not to approve these. Part of the reason for going further in depth is that we're at a point now where these are pushing the limits of the actual fund's capacity. They do get funding each year, but at this level, as noted, I believe on page 3 of my report under finance, that if everything were to be approved that's in front of you right now, you'll see in the red text there, it would actually put the fund into a negative, which is not possible. So unsustainable if everything's approved as is. Also leaves no room for anything else. And as you just heard in the CAO report earlier, there was an example project for the improvements to the airport, right? So the EOF can be used both for third parties or for initiatives and projects of the town and or CSRD. So if I just gave an example, is because the resourcing request was a new one from Golden CED versus previous ones, which are purely operational. I added that column of just if council were to deny that one for now, just as a hypothetical, it would leave 130,000 of uncommitted funds. Now it does get topped up each year, and I think in 2026 it was a top up of 667,000. Next year, it's expected to be roughly 700,000, but they don't know for certain until June, July when they're informed by the province. But still, that leaves a limited amount of funding left for everything else that area director and council may want to fund. Right now, these are just 3 organizations that have a long-standing partnership with us. But I know there's other initiatives. It could be community forests, it could be fiber optics, it could be any number of things, right? So we're at that point where council has to make some really tough decisions, which is why I went into a bit more depth on it. I know that there's been a lot of discussion. I've received probably more phone calls from members of council on this topic than any other topic in the last year and a half, things that I thought were more contentious. But I think it just points to that there's a lot of value from these organizations, but there is limited resources out of this EOF fund. And it's it's not just affecting the town of Golden, it's affecting Area A as well. And so I'm hopeful that council has a very robust discussion of this. These are requests. They're not black and white. Council is welcome to discuss alternatives to these. And if you wish, you may want to go into a closed session to discuss what was previously decided by council about one of these. That was discussed in a closed session. So if we're talking about a closed session, we have to be in a closed session. And also a reminder that the community charter allows you to go into a closed session to discuss whether or not you want to have the discussion in a closed session. So you may decide to bring it out and say, you know what, let's bring this out into the open and have an open discussion, but you need to make that decision in a closed session. So just to add extra complexity. But I do welcome council to consider that so that you can have a frank discussion about these matters. Ideally, as a community charter guides, every discussion should be open unless there's a really compelling reason to have it enclosed. One of those reasons could be the provision of a new municipal service. And I know that I believe that was the reasoning for that discussion, particularly about Golden Community Economic Development. At the time, years ago, it was a discussion about potentially a new municipal service of economic development. So that would be a very valid reason to bring it back into closed, to have that conversation and decide which direction you want to go in your decision making. The other one's Golden Food Bank and Local Food Matters. They're pretty straightforward. So you could, if you wish, to just hit each of these in turn, and like you could discuss just the Golden Food Bank Society, make a decision. You could jump to Local Food Matters, make a decision, and hold Golden CED for that extra discussion.
I thank you for that suggestion. I think that makes sense from the aspect of if we do go into closed, then it doesn't have people hanging in the wind. So to that point, we'll deal with item the resolution number 1, that council support the request from Golden Food Bank Society to allocate $36,000 from the EOF Economic Opportunity Fund for their 2026 program budget, and the budget and the proposal are all included in the package. Is there any questions of clarification with regards to that resolution? If not, I would be looking for a mover and a seconder. Councilor Guio?
I'll move that we fund the Golden Food Bank Society with EOF funds.
Thank you for that. Looking for a seconder. Councilor Routley? Any questions speaking to the motion? Councilor Routley?
I think I'll just briefly speak to it in recognizing that there really has been a clear sector development piece with the driver being the local procurement for food resources. So I'm certainly supportive of the food bank's request.
Thank you for that. Any other speakers? Councilor Manuel?
I'm also in favor. They do valuable work. It's important for our community, and they've been doing it for several years, and they know what they're doing. So I'm happy to support that.
Thank you for that. Comments, Councilor Guio?
Yeah, I'll speak to it as well. It was a excellent application. It was project-based budgeting. It showed the economic value of this fund being used. I've seen some great work coming there, and it's very much community organization. It affects so many people in this town. I think it's very important.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? And I guess I'm going to respond to the concept of project-based, and I do agree with that comment. In some instances, economic development is not a single project. It's sometimes a process. I haven't been involved with economic development from a local government perspective from the last, I think it's 30 years. I've seen many renditions of what economic development looks like. So I think we also I think there's value in looking at projects, but I also think there's value in looking at the processes that need to get us to where we the broader community would like to be. Counselor Guile.
I agree, but we are going by a policy that's very, very stated that it's, even the application form, it's stated that it's project-based.
Thank you for that. Counselor Mann, you had your hand up for a sec.
I'm along with you, Mayor Ozust. It's like the food bank. They, how to say, they can have all the grants they get for individual projects, but there's always a struggle getting to money for ongoing work. That because most granting agencies don't want to give that, but without that, they don't have the people or the substance to apply or to work on projects.
Okay.
So it's important to keep them alive.
So, and I'm as guilty as anyone on this one. We've gone beyond what is before us, which is funding for the food bank. Speaking to that motion specifically, I think I'll use the word thrilled that 20,000 of the $36,000 is going directly to local procurement. And that was an initiative that I believe we as the council actually put some really tight strings on a couple years ago, if my memory serves me correct. And I think that's a great continued direction to go. It not only helps people with food, but it also helps our local economy, however you say that word. I'm wrong. Anyways, any other speakers on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Moving on to recommendation resolution number 4, that council support the request for Local Food Matters Society to allocate $100,000 from the Economic Opportunity Fund for their 2027 core operations. Look for a mover. I'll move that to get it on the table. Looking for a seconder. Counselor, myself moving, Counselor Manuel seconding that. Discussion, council. Counselor Manuel?
I did second this because we need to discuss this, but this is one where I am a bit troubled because local food matters. Yes, local food does matter, but I haven't seen, some kind of history of making things happen, and that concerns me a bit.
Any other comments? Counselor Guile?
I do believe that a lot of work has gone into the farmer's market. A lot of work has gone into gleaning. I do not feel that we should be giving the full $100,000 at this point.
Thank you for that. Any other speakers to the motion? Counselor Routley?
Thank you, Mayor. Similarly, I'm a little bit hesitant with the full layer of the ask, and I do recognize that the work is multi-year and it takes a bit of time to get through the inertia. That being said, whereas I guess to differentiate this specific request from any others, the food banks that we just approved, it's not. There was that specific procurement piece, not just staff time, and I do struggle with those allocations within the budget. I do hope that these move forward, but it's tricky given the context of the unsustainability if everything else is granted. Of the EOF dollars, I'd be partial towards a portion being directed towards supporting the Local Food Matters continuing the work, but at that scale, I do struggle. So I wouldn't be supportive of the request as presented.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers? Counselor Cooper?
Yeah, I'm in support of the farmer's market. And when I was looking over the budget, I was trying to delineate, so it's 48,000 for the farmer's market, total expenses. And I see the value in the farmer's market and what it brings to the community. And I see the economic worth of the farmer's market. And I feel that is a area that I would really like to sponsor. And over the different project bases, I feel like that's where our value of our money should be spent with the local food matters. And I would support. And I just have I'm not sure as to how much out of this. I was trying to figure out when I was reading through the document with the expenses and how to pull out the farmer's market and be in support of the farmer's market. I'm not sure how council feels about that, or if we send it back and ask for specific financials for that one area project.
Okay, I do believe we have received some past information, but I'm not able to bring it up right away. So I'll leave that kind of hanging, and we've got Councillor Hambrick.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I tend to agree with the comments that are already made. Somewhere along the line, we do have to curtail expenses in order to make it work. Again, I'm not sure where they could make a significant reduction in their ask. If anybody has suggestions, I'd be open to looking at that.
Thank you for that. So not being able to tie a number to the project of the farmer's market, it may be best at this time to defer this till we get supplemental information, breakdown of the projects, if that's the intent of council. So I'd entertain a motion for deferral, and that would be to the next regular open council meeting. Councillor Wheel?
Don't we have to defeat the motion?
Actually, a motion to deferral would override it, and then there's no debate in the motion deferral. We have a mover and a.
Oh, we had a motion.
We have a motion on the table, moved and seconded, and we can do a motion to defer. Councillor Routley has his little Bible out. I mean, his book out. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe a motion of deferral can be put forward while you have a motion on the table, because it's dealing with the motion that's on the table. I'm going to go with that.
Okay, then I make the motion to defer.
Motion to defer, and a motion to defer cannot be debated. We have a seconder.
Yeah.
Now I question all those in favor. Opposed? Carried unanimously. So the motion for deferral is to the next regular open council meeting which is August 18th, something like that. Okay, thank you for that. So I believe we have to have that in the motion. Okay, with that, we go on to the third one, which I'm gonna have some fun here and just work in numerical order, smallest to biggest, and bring up resolution number 3. The council, I'll read it. The council support the request for Community Economic Development Society to allocate $165,000 from the Economic Opportunity Fund for their CED resourcing project as identified in the report. Councilor Wheel, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed under sections 901K and 901C of the Community Charter, being negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at the preliminary stages and that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if held in public, and matters related to labor relations or other employee relations.
Thank you for that. I'm looking for a seconder. Councilor Routley seconded that. Staff?
The labor's relations one wouldn't really be applicable because there's no actual staff right now involved in this, nor likely to. I think K covers it. The provision of a service that would cover it.
Thank Okay,
Service that would be related to how you would have unions and establishing a new provision.
K covers that though, because
Covers
there,
it all?
if there were an existing labor relations of GP workers
Okay.
providing a service. and it
that's what
would-
that portion
Yeah,
deals with,
yeah,
Thank you very
but thanks.
not the potential creation thereof. Okay, with that, I'm not sure procedurally, I'm just gonna go ask the question. No debate. All those in favor of the motion to go in camera? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Welcome, everyone. We are now in the process of reconvening the regular open council meeting of today, July 21st. It's been a long day thus far. With that, looking for motion to reconvene, moved by Councilor Routley, second by Councilor Guio. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. And the next process is rise and report. We have some information that came out of the closed meeting. The motion that was supported at the closed portion meeting is brought out into the public meeting is that council support the request for Golden Community Economic Development, CED Society, to allocate $399,400 from the Economic Opportunity Fund for their CED service projects. And that was carried unanimously by council. Thank you for that. And we still have unfinished business from that meeting, and that is resolution number 3. The council support the request for Golden Community Economic Development Society to allocate $165,000 from the Community Economic Opportunity Fund for their CED resourcing project. I'd be looking for a mover of that act. Prior to that, any questions of clarification the council need? If not, I will be looking for a mover of that motion. Councilor Manuel moving the motion, looking for a seconder. So I will second the motion to get it on the floor. With that, anybody wishing to speak to the motion? Councilor Routley.
Thank you, Mayor. Certainly appreciate the shopping list within the specific request, and certainly recognizing that these are the realities of the current provincial funding system, is that a lot of cash is dried up. That being said, I would be voting against the full request of $165,000, and if at all possible, I would be if this motion were to fail, I would be interested in putting forward a $50,000 allocation or making CED aware that council would support an allocation of $50,000 towards the housing initiative portion, and I'll leave it at that. So speaking against the motion as it stands currently.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers to the motion? Councilor Guio?
Yeah, I was speaking against the motion as well. I believe that if a viable project comes up, they have ample opportunity to come back to council to request additional funds. I find that putting money aside will stop other EOF requests that have that may be coming forward. And I don't think holding money aside or paying out this when we don't really have any project to attach it to is a wise decision.
Okay, and right now we're speaking to the motion specifically to the project budget, the overall listing as per actually, can we get that up on the screen? Do we have that readily available? And there was a number of components: business and investment attraction, affordable housing, special initiatives, C2CI, for a total project budget of $165,000. Anybody else speaking to the motion?
Counselor Hambrick had his hand up.
Sorry,
Counselor Hambrick had his hand up.
Councillor Hambrick,
Yeah, thanks, your worship.
thank you.
Yeah, I feel along the same lines. I mean, it's a matter of, we simply don't have that much money. We cannot afford to continue funding at these levels, and we have to make some difficult decisions for budget cuts. So I will not be supporting it at the current level.
And just a point of clarification, it's not really a budget cut. It was not in the budget. It was a request. And what I'm hearing is Councillor speaking opposed to the request. Any other speakers to the motion to support the $165,000? Councillor Cooper?
I'm at the same, I will be voting against the motion. When I was reviewing the documents and reviewing each individual request, I'm not sure about how it fits in within the criteria, and just there is limits. We have other funding there is other opportunities that come up, and I feel like if a project is coming up, then the society is very welcome to present a project base when it arises for additional funding.
Thank you for that. Any other speakers? Hearing none, I will speak to the motion. Speaking opposed to the motion as it's presented, but I will add the caveat that the comment that I'm supportive of the affordable housing initiative in that, and we need to find some way to show support for that. And I think we can do that with dollars and dollars talk. So to the motion, I'm speaking against the motion as it's presented. Any other speakers? If not, I will call the question. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? The motion is defeated with all of council voting against it. For the record, Councillor Routley.
Thank you, Worship. At this time, I'd be happy to put forward a resolution that council support a request from Golden Community Economic Development Society to allocate $50,000 from the Economic Opportunity Fund for their CED resourcing project specific to the housing initiatives portion thereof.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Manuel seconding that. And again, I'm just trying to get the language. So it's supporting a request or supporting the affordable housing component of the previous request.
I would say that it is that housing initiative portion is within the service, or sorry, not the services project, but the resourcing project. The only difference being that 100,000 is being requested, but at this time I'm only putting forward 50.
Thank you for that. We got to move in a second. Speaking to the motion, Councillor Guil.
Just clarification, if it was defeated before, why wasn't it reduced in the last motion? Can you actually bring it back?
I'd have to look to staff procedurally.
If it was defeated before?
So the comment is that the request for $100,000 for affordable housing along with the other items was defeated. And the question is, can it actually come back requesting $50,000 for the housing initiative? Is that the fair?
Yeah, because I think it was stated by a number of members of council that it was a defeat of it as it was presented.
As a package.
It could have been amended. It was defeated. I don't think there's anything wrong with giving direction to them to basically try again with an altered proposal. It's not like a development proposal where there's time spans of delay or anything like that. This is providing feedback to them saying, we've said no to the overarching request that you've made for all these projects, but we're open to you providing a proposal for something for a very specific project. That is procedurally fine.
Thank you for that, Councillor Guil.
So we can't make that decision here then. They're gonna have to reapply. Because
is the resolution, it's to invite them to apply, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
So we're not putting the money aside. We're not deciding that we're giving them that money.
Is that a fair interpretation of the intent of your resolution?
I think that obviously it would be bad faith for the municipality to not at least earmark 50,000 because we've invited the application. If they respectfully decline the opportunity, then that's fine. Obviously, we're not going to be beholden, like we're not going to let 6 months go by and still have 50,000 set aside. But if CED or GCED were happy to proceed with that amount to begin some concepts, then I don't see why that's gauche.
Okay, I'm just gonna see what staff have up on the board first.
Yeah,
then
I
with-
see your confusion there. We're working off of older wording. So back to what we're trying to do here is that we're inviting them to propose a request up to $50,000 specific to their affordable housing project. We're not actually asking council to make a decision about the dollars now. It's in the
My only note on that is that it's the resourcing project and not the services project.
Good catch.
So it's saying, here's an invite. It's not allocating those dollars from the EOF at this point in time. So there's no commitment of any EOF dollars for the housing at this point in time. It's bring back a proposal and a request through the EOF process specific to housing initiatives.
Correct. You're basically letting it be known that you're open to a request for this. They may look at it and decide that this isn't something that makes sense for them and not come back with anything.
Yeah.
There's no commitment.
And so do we need to attach a dollar value to the resolution? What's the value of that? No, is there value in that? And basically it's saying to the group, yeah, you can think about this, can bring something back, but you're asking only be up to 50,000?
That's what I heard, but I mean,
Okay.
council can decide if you want to set an upper limit or just leave it open and just don't include a dollar amount. Entirely up to council.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilor Guil?
I think wrong to include a dollar amount. I think if they'd like to come back and apply for more funding, then they are welcome to come back and apply for more funding.
Thank you for that. I guess I have one comment in that, or I'll go to Councilor Hambrick first. Councilor Hambrick?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know if I'm muted. Yeah,
You're good.
I guess my only concern with the wording as it is, are they going to be spinning their wheels? And if we don't set aside the money now and some magical proposal comes forward that spends it all that we have left, what if, and they're in the process of applying for it and we spend it elsewhere? There's no guarantee to them that they are going to get it if they reapply. Is that the intention?
That would be one of the concerns for sure. And that's the concern that I had in my mind, and my solution to that was to put a time limit to that allocation of the amount. So that if there was something that came back to council, an EOF request within a time frame, that would then that process would be ended after that time frame, whatever that time frame was. That's my thoughts to it, is just to add some time limits to it. Not that it's out there suspended over the EOF fund in perpetuity or for the rest of the year, this year.
Yeah, well, I would feel better putting some kind of language like that in the resolution, yes.
Councilor Guil?
I think considering that the original ask has been met, and I just don't think we should be jumping through hoops to secure the money. If we had amended the last resolution during it and saying that we're only going to give them this much, could have done that, but we haven't. We denied the full amount. Anybody should have any right to come and apply for EOF funding. We shouldn't be putting aside just in case. You present your case. We did not pass that motion. They can come back and apply just like anybody else.
Thank you. Councilor Manuel?
So you can come back and apply, but if the money's already gone, too bad. Okay, just wanted to be clear.
Councilor Cooper?
Yeah, I think that the application that was presented was denied and it had other things that were not but an application can be submitted tomorrow for a fund. Like, it's not that, I don't think we could earmark, I don't think that is fair to any other organization that is going to apply as well. I feel that it's been denied, and yeah, come back and reapply on the basis of that council's interested in hearing something regarding housing. And that be it. And then it's up to the body to decide what they want to apply for and when and how they get it in. So I would support the deny and just support letting whatever it was without a dollar amount, just council encourages you to reapply for the housing.
Counselor Routley, then Counselor Guil.
Thank you. We have one, we have a council meeting in a little bit over a month, one in August. Nothing precludes council after that meeting or even during that meeting from making any other allocations. That being said, I think in a good faith gesture, if in fact GCED goes ahead and agrees to do the $50,000 ask, I think that a month is plenty of time to respond and say, pass or not. We've all recognized the value of the housing function at GCED. I think that there's a great opportunity to continue moving that forward in this partnership. And so in a month's time, we'll hear, and nothing precludes council after or during from considering other EOF asks. That being said, we're not going to be calling any special, I can't imagine there will be any special open council meetings before that could gobble up the rest of EOF. So I think we're going to be okay. I think that if we invite them to come back with a $50,000 ask for this function, I'm sure if they're keen, they will do it. And if not, that's okay. The funds will still be there. And so
Can we get the resolution back up, please? We're just going to get the resolution back up on the screen momentarily. Sorry, Carrie, you've switched screens more time than Alicia did the whole meeting. So again, we have got the resolution on the screen. I'm hearing Councilor Routley say that there's no time limits, but the fact that we can address it at the next council meeting. Okay, any other speakers to the motion? Seeing, hearing none? All those in favor? Opposed? Counselor Hambrick, you're.
Carrie was raising her hand.
That's okay. I'm with the explanation from Councillor Routley. I can live with this.
So I'll take that as voting in favor. Is
In favor, yes.
So I'm going to go with, we have a unanimous support for that resolution. And with that, we move on to the next item of business, which is 12A, discussion with regards to the deferred motion from Councilor Guil with regard to future contribution service agreements for the use of economic opportunity funds. Councilor Guil, would you like to speak to this?
After going through some historical information about some groups that actually pretty much met all the requirements that are here, I think that we've already met the aspect of a liaison, so that's doesn't seem to be a problem. I just find that to help us make decisions better if we had better reporting, and that's basically what this is. And when you talk about public funds, we have a responsibility to the public that it's open and so they know what the money's being spent on. This is not a motion about control. This is a motion about open governance. So if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Manuel.
I'm just wondering if when we talk about the liaison here, it says, period, there's a limitation to the period of how long they can be the liaison. And I think our current liaison is doing a good job, and I'd be, reluctant to finish his term as a liaison when he's still doing a good job.
And actually, I think I'll speak to that in that it's tied just to, we only have the, I would say, authority or the impetus to be actually designate a liaison while we're actually providing funding. If in fact the funding ended, then the commitment of a liaison would also be ended in my mind. So tying it to the EOF funding makes sense. I have a question with regards to the project-based accounting, and I'm just wondering, what does project-based accounting look like? And my thought is, not that I was ever good in accounting, but I'm thinking of a ledger line that actually separates. And so if I'm running my business and I have kind of three aspects of my business, I allocate the time and cost to a ledger line. So it's as simple as a ledger line, so that's separated out. Can you?
Exactly. It just, so if you have 3.5 full-time employees, it just basically breaks up where those dollars are coming. Because if you're getting grant money from EOF, but you're also getting grant money from other sources, it shows how that money moves through the process. It's not to dictate what kind of projects they're doing. It's to just understand how the money flows. It's very much how the food bank fills out their application. I just think this is probably the best way to do it. Every other organization in town does an AGM. This is public dollars. I think people should see it, and I think they should be celebrating what they're doing as well. I think an AGM is a society act. You're supposed to have an AGM, and a public AGM. Every other nonprofit in this town that are not getting money from the EOF have public AGMs. I'm not trying to uncover anything. I just think it's an opportunity to bring clarity. I've been getting requests from residents in town that just don't really understand what they do. And we know that they do a lot with housing, but they also do other things. And I think they should be showcasing it. So that's why it is, it's just more about transparency. It's our responsibility.
Thank you for that information about the project-based accounting, and just so again, just to flush that out in my mind's eye, what requests we're putting forward to them. When there's shared operations, like say the overhead costs of a rental space, so that would be shared between all the projects, or is that separated out? I'm just trying to.
That could be separated out. When you're looking at, say, the project, the age-friendly one, for instance, that was a separate project. The Launchpad, a separate project. If they're getting EOF funds that are actually supporting those projects, then it would be nice to see how those dollars are matching with the other dollars that are coming in.
Okay, and just linking it back to staff time specifically,
Yeah.
as opposed to incidentals or overhead.
Like details.
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
why I asked to
And I
flush this out. Just
don't believe that that's what the food bank does either. I think it's, we get a high level of costs. We don't get a high level of other inputs
Details.
or outputs. Just something that's a little bit more transparent about how the funds are moved around. That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the clarification. And with regards to the comment about the AGM, I'm not opposed to the concept, but I just, in making that request, I recognize that there will be staff time and costs associated with that. And in fact, that becomes a project. So they'll probably not, or it will take money from other activities.
An AGM is by law for society, they have to have they have to advertise they have an AGM.
Yeah, and my comment is not saying don't have an AGM. My comment is saying that just recognize that it costs time and money to do that, and that will take away a little bit from many or one of the projects.
It's
cost of doing
they have to by
business.
law do it.
It's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. I had Councilor Routley.
Thank you. I'm just making sure that this is a very general discussion about the application of VOF, as it's not specific to any one applicant that we've received in the past or may in the future. I'm certainly supportive of the concept of that, like project level financing, year-end financials, which are what we receive from organizations that are actually receiving taxpayer dollars, is always greatly appreciated. I guess my primary concern, 100% the Societies Act requires that an AGM be held, but it does not stipulate the membership of said AGM or that it be in public. And so I would only ask whether we actually have the authority of enforcing or forcing an organization to have like a broad public AGM, which would potentially require a bylaw or constitutional amendment for the society. If we have that authority to enforce that in what is effectively just a contract rather than like a bylaw, which would amend or supplement the Societies Act. So I just a procedural or legal question, I guess, around the authority to enforce an open AGM.
Mr. Denigar?
Yeah, we have no legal ability to compel these organizations to do something. We can't even compel them to follow the law in terms of the Societies Act. What we can do is tie funding to conditions that we set. And I have spoken with the regional district, as I said earlier. They don't have contribution agreements when they issue EOF to organizations without our involvement. This is something that the town has been doing, which is a good practice to have a legal agreement. And we can add any conditions we want to that agreement and make that as a condition of our concurrence with granting EOF.
And that's the intent.
This intent is to go with every agreement. And if you look back on the previous agreement that was public at the information that I sent to you that they had made public in the council meeting, those requirements about counting and everything were already in it. So
again, that's speaking to one entity, but this is across the board. So
Yeah.
we would be asking this of
our CEO.
requiring this of every entity that receives EOF funds. Any further actually, Councilor Manuel and Councilor Cooper. Councilor Cooper.
My only comment is like all service groups, gymnastics club, hockey have AGMs. It doesn't have to be an expensive thing. It can be outside in a park. It just has to be advertised legally in a paper 1 month prior to. So the only cost to an AGM, in theory, would be one newspaper ad. There does not have to be an expensive taking away from projects to have one meet. It's one meeting, and it is not an expensive that needs to be taken away from other projects.
Great, thank you for that. Any other comments? As an aside, I always like food at AGMs, just saying. But it's not necessary. That's right. Please.
Just want council to be conscious of the fact that AGMs, again, by law, don't have to be open to the public. They have to be available to the members of the organization. So it may not fit with some organizations in the community to have them fully open because of the nature of what they're discussing, their finances, governance, and so forth. It may be more appropriate for them as an organization to have a members only AGM. So just please be careful with that one.
Thank you for that information. Councilor Manuel, on again, off again, on again.
So essentially what we're saying is you can make a public hearing, it can be a request, but the AGM is a requirement.
They are absolutely required to have an AGM. They can delay it, but they can't not delay it forever. They have to have an AGM, and it should be annually.
And it's a requirement from us in this situation.
Conditionally for funding, council could require particular kind of AGM. So if you wanted to require these organizations to have an open to the public AGM, you could make that a condition of funding. Just be aware that that may create friction.
So again, I'm gonna come back to Council Guio, intent.
So I'd be happy to remove that one.
So then that's a amendment to the notice of motion. So we'd be eliminating for there's one. For A.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Okay, I don't recall who the mover and the seconder were.
I can second, I don't.
Actually, it's no motion. You moved it. I'll have a count.
Wes, actually.
Yeah, Wes seconded, so it's okay with the mover and the seconder. Okay, and speaking to it, Councilor Rotley.
I guess I don't want to delay this process any further, but certainly you know, would appreciate commentary from, you know, previous applicants, and just like, I'm sure for most, if not all, it would be as simple, just, you know, we already are producing these documents, and you know, we've seen great examples of project level budgeting already, and so they'll be, you know, a-okay with it, but certainly just an opportunity for commentary just feels appropriate. Procedurally, I guess, you know, organizations are welcome to raise any concerns in the future, and we can rescind or amend new resolutions in the future. I guess just a question to staff around, like, functionally, whether the opportunity to be heard should be incorporated at all for these organizations.
Question to staff.
Yeah, this was going to be included in my staff report to go with this that I didn't have time to write. And that I would recommend that we engage with regular partners in the community who receive EOF funding to make sure that this is actually doable, and what it looks like to them, so that we can get the wording right and ideally consistent across all these agreements, because it should be to everyone, even if they're one-off EOF fundings. It'd be nice to have an agreement that fits. And as well, there's an opportunity, I think I mentioned this, to align with potential new contribution agreements with the regional district as well, so that it doesn't matter who they're going through. If it has to do with Golden or Area A, it's the same kind of relationship. But yeah, like, there's certain accountabilities and financial disclosures that cost more or less for the organizations, and it'd be good to find some wording that makes sense and isn't onerous. I think we've dropped audited financials, but there's a range of what is considered financial reporting. And that's where I work with our own CFO and each organization to talk through what that would look like. And then we would work that into the agreements. It shouldn't be like a hammer that comes down tomorrow for them. Even just in the timing of the EOF requests that have been already approved by council, like I would be hesitant to say that we could get this into the contribution agreements that would be coming out the door in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you for that. And before I go to Council, am I hearing you say that there would be adequate staff time to be able to have those conversations with those recipients of EOF funds to be able to determine the impacts?
It's something that we could get to in the coming months, but I really don't think it's realistic to include these conditions in the, like, immediately upcoming contribution agreements. I think it's realistic to say next round, or if there's new EOF requests that come in, say August, September, that should give staff and these groups enough time to actually have these conditions included.
That's the clarification I was looking for. Thank you for that. Councilor Guio, my apologies.
Clear, like, it says staff be directed to include for consideration. It does not say include infinite in any future contribution agreements. It doesn't say you have to have it. It's for staff to consider. So that would give the opportunity for staff to have those conversations. It wasn't a
Black and white.
no.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? Councilor Manuel, I think you had your hand up.
I'm obviously a bit confused, but the first paragraph is that council directs staff to include accountability requirements as set out below in any future contribution service agreement for the use of EOF funds.
So you're
And
saying
that's a
that's black
requirement.
and white?
Yeah, no, maybe I'm not understanding. Well, actually, I'm not understanding.
Read the bottom one.
Well, does that negate the top?
So is the language consistent in that? So and that's a question that's been raised. Are there inconsistencies?
Accountability requirements.
Yep.
How about get rid of as set out below?
If I may, I
Please.
think structurally, if the last enactment clause just became the first and replaced, like, the council directs staff to include for consideration in any future contribution agreements related to economic opportunity funds, these and other,
Yeah, these are.
these and other accountability requirements as set forth below to support council's duty to responsibly steward public funds, and then we list. And that then sets up the that process, and then that's clean, which I recognize as a pretty structural amendment, but
So,
I'm seeing a yes. Okay.
so again, that this is meeting the needs of the mover and the seconder. So I'll give kind of 1 minute more to read over that. Yeah. Appreciated doing it on the fly. There was a statement. So council, we got a mover and a seconder. Are there any further discussions on the resolution that's up on the board? Seeing, hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Great, now we get to move on to 12B. Delegation we had at the last meeting. Yeah, it was last meeting a month ago. We had a delegation from Kootenai Conservation Program, a local conservation fund discussion. Staff are bringing back some information at this time. Is that correct, Mr. Denegar? No? So council, any discussion that you want to have with regards to the creation of a local conservation fund? I would have to be refreshed. Councilor Rutley, how's your memory?
Fantastic from going through the minutes. The council's prior direction was just seeking some clarity around the parcel count, at least within the municipality, to see what a budget would look like if a $20 parcel tax were applied.
Thank you for the refresh.
Now I
Mr.
remember.
Denegar.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're all in the same boat.
So yes, we counted it up approximately because there's all these little exclusions of the parcels, but approximately 2,165 parcels at $20 per parcel is $43,300.
Thank you for that information. Councilor Manuel, speaking to the concept.
I'm speaking not to exactly the cons, but how we present the cost. So like on next year's property tax thing, it would be a separate line item, Kootenai Conservation Program or something like that.
It could be shown as a separate item, yes.
Yeah.
Speaking to the motion, or
Do we even have a motion?
no, we don't.
No.
So speaking to the concept,
I'm not in agreement of the concept. I feel like we have Wild Site. I don't feel that $40,000 coming from the community is a great enough fund to grow and to produce what was presented. I'm going by memory, what was presented, because it's not pooled with other areas. And I feel like we have other local conservation groups that I would prefer to support, groups that are already here, that if they ask, but I'm not in agreement to this.
thank you. Councilor Routley.
Thank you. I think it is important to recognize that the Kootenai Conservation Program, as far as an organization goes, is around the establishment of the financing tool. Wild Site doesn't generate their own dollars. I mean, maybe they do, but a lot of these organizations are out seeking those funds, and so this would be a new pot of cash, lightly administered, as presented by Kootenai Conservation Program at the time. That being said, I guess a question to staff around the timing, or trying to go through the strategic plan to double check on the parcel tax roll and where we're at in a review of that function, because if we wanted to implement that, it's kind of has to be lodged into that review process.
Mr. Dennegar?
Yeah, advice on that will come from two different streams. One is that long-term financial plan for infrastructure, which is coming any day now. It's actively being worked on. And part of it is from the other, so the infrastructure related budgets and utility billing budgets that'll be coming as part of the budgeting process. So there'll be a few opportunities upcoming later this year to talk about that parcel tax. But there's no clear direction yet from our consultants or staff on how that should go and what it's best used for. So yeah, it does make a certain amount of sense to sort of wait and see how that shakes out. Because the advice from our consultants for finance, especially regarding infrastructure, may be that we need to increase that amount. In which case, it's a tug of war there.
Yeah. Councilor Creel?
The only question is, how does it play out with the CSRD? Have they agreed to this?
There's been no resolutions relative to land conservation fund.
Because most of this,
In my recollection,
most of the conservation work is done within the CSRD.
absolutely. And a quick thought is that it'd be tied to local properties as opposed to something down in the central Kootenays. But anyways,
Yeah.
Councilor Rowley, did you have your hand up? Councilor Hambrick, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a similar question regarding CSRD, because is there any ability by regional district to impose a parcel tax?
Well, the information they presented was yes, because they actually have done it in the RDEK.
I would say yes, but no, because the region, the area A is outside of their boundaries in the Kootenays. They were very clear that what would be a regional parcel tax through area A does not meet their mandate that ends in Golden, just slightly beyond here. So it's a headbutting of regions almost.
But clarity to the question is, yes, the regional district could provide money to the Kootenai Conservation
I don't know if they could,
Program.
because the Kootenai conversation when they were here said they would,
They're outside, but
they're outside of their district.
I can give money to
So,
another district.
I guess, yep.
If I may.
Yeah.
So for clarity, as was presented at that meeting, this would require that the CSRD establish through a service establishment bylaw the function for conservation for the Kootenai Conservation Program, and it's in that process, likely in consultation with council, who we could just wave a wand and do it, which is the benefits of the community charter versus the local government act. But likely it would be a concerted effort of defining what functions would even be eligible. And so, Kootenai Conservation Program is the steward for those funds. It's fantastic service that they offer. That being said, it would have to be through a consultative process, likely requiring a referendum, if not an alternate approval process, but who knows, for Area A and to establish that service. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I guess I don't want this to die on the vine, and so I'd be happy to put forward a motion that council refer conversations around the Kootenai Conservation Program at such time as we undertake a parcel tax review, and then I'll wait to speak on the motion.
So process-wise, motion to refer. Do we need to have a timeline associated with that? Mr. Dennegar, any thoughts, comments? Thank you for that. Councilor Manuel, comments?
Taking this in a different direction, could this contribution be optional on your taxes kind of thing? No, I'm just throwing it out there,
Taxes are never optional.
But I mean, at the same time, it's worth asking.
So I'm hearing that it's referred to, I'm gonna say the November council meeting,
think the
and I'm just
indefinite
taking into
period-
consideration the election and new council and all that.
Yeah, and so that's why, I made the reference to the around the parcel tax review. And yeah, and so we see from staff that council refer conversation around the Kootenai Conservation Program to such time as the municipality undertakes a parcel review in the fourth quarter of 2026. I guess we're still waiting on a seconder before I speak further.
Council Guerrero, second the motion, speaking to the motion, Council Lee.
Thank you very briefly. The whole concept of parcel tax is not one that the council has really grappled with a lot, and so it is definitely an identified capacity gap or experience gap. It's been a while, and so I think that if we're going to entertain the opportunity to introduce an additional parcel tax, we need to know the full breadth of the program. So I feel that that's appropriate.
Thank you for that, Councilor Hamburg.
Yeah, how would a parcel tax be different from a frontage tax? We already have a frontage tax.
Staff, are you able to respond, Mr. Dindergaard?
A frontage tax is a type of parcel tax. It can be done by area or frontage.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. So we got a mover and seconder. Any speakers to the motion? I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you for that. And now we move on to item 13, which is question period. It's an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions about any of the items that were on the regular open council meeting agenda today. No pressure. Any questions? Thank you for being here. I look to the virtual gallery. Any questions from folks on the virtual gallery? Ask a second and a third time for any questions from the virtual gallery. Seeing none, we move on to, it's item number 16 today. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Routley, second by Councilor Manuel. Sorry, Councilor Dale, you were about a hand short. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, council.